I love that song, man. I could just jam out to that whenever.
And we're on.
And we're on. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the G.I. Joe 3D printing podcast.
Good morning.
Glad to be here.
Morning.
So this morning, we always just try and come up with some new topics and try and find excuses to get some folks from the group or the community on so we can steal their knowledge. This morning, we've got Dillon from Anthanatos Unlimited and Jason from JsArmory, or also known as One Per Case on Instagram. So thank you guys so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So, yeah, I guess we can kind of, how about we can kind of each take a turn, say kind of what got you started and where people can find you, and we'll go from there. Dillon, if you want to go first.
Sure. Yeah. So I got started 3D printing as kind of part of my job. I work at a performing arts high school, so we would do some 3D printing for props and things like that for stage shows, and then that eventually got me into 3D printing for my D&D group. So I would print miniatures, and that led me naturally into resin printing, moving away from FDM, PLA type printing for the bigger stuff. And then I eventually got to the point where I got pretty good at supporting things like miniatures. Wasn't much of a sculptor or designer, but then the Joe Classified line came out, and those early Nerf guns just weren't scratching that itch for me. So I started pulling digital files from like video games and from some other places that were license free, and from Mark, and making my own weapons. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe people would want this. This before it was such a common thing. There was not a lot of people in the game back then when Classified first started. And I started putting them on Mercari and eBay, and then here I am with a 2,000 plus library on my Etsy shop. So that's the summation.
Cool. Jason.
That was way eloquent. See, I already screwed it up. Well, it started with when Classified came out. I mean, I've always wanted to like cast and get into that, but the amount of stuff that you needed for that was just a little bit past where I wanted to go with it. So when Resin 3D printing came out and Classified, I was like, oh, based on the 25th line, maybe they're gonna kind of like tenderly go into this line. So if I want the figures I want, I'm gonna have to make them myself. Was kind of the idea. And Mark, actually, you're very much of an inspiration early on as well. Like you and
I did not solicit from either of these guys to say anything nice.
No, it's just the way it is, man.
Yeah, and Figure Gear too was a big part of my start. There weren't a lot of people out there doing it, so it was like if you wanted stuff, you needed to do it for yourself. So I'm a huge Battle Force 2000 fan. So I worked with a sculptor, and he helped me with heads and some chess pieces, and I did the guns and some other parts for him. And it was really fun. But I have this joke, and I'm hoping they do Battle Force. It's like if I do a kit, they're going to release them, because Crocmaster came out pretty soon after Crocmaster. They announced Big Boa, Dark One's on its way. I saw Voltar on a list in the last couple of days. And then just last week, I'm like, hey, I can paint up some Monkey Wrench kits. And literally that next day, Jeremy put up that list in the Classified group with Monkey Wrench on it. I'm like, okay. I get it. You guys are going all in, and I'm pretty excited about it.
No kidding.
So
Sorry. Like, no, just sorry. It like, I just bought 2 torpedo figures so I can make the yellow and the red.
Right.
I'm not kidding. Like, I just did that. I had done a Pythona custom, and I bought 2 extra bodies of the Sue Storm, so I can do a diving Baroness in red and a Scarlet in yellow. Like within the last 2 weeks, got those. But the torpedoes I just got.
Jason's Darklon kit is spot on. I mean, spot on. It looks like what we're getting from the team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Not that close, but I do feel it kind of harkens way back to the 80s. And some people hate the 80s versions of that stuff. I don't know why I love it. That that stuff.
Yeah.
I stopped with like Eco Warriors. I can't do like the super stuff. Like 1990, 91 was about my limit. And well, I think that was when I was aging out of it anyways at the time. Yeah. Like crazy.
So at this point, are you doing most of your sculpting, or do you still have some other people that do sculpting for you?
Well, my story goes to I ended up at a crossroads. I was small business, medium business IT, plus I was doing printing. I had an offer to go full time with a company, and I did that for the last 2 years. It probably wasn't the right decision. I kind of knew where that was going to end up with it. So I'm only really getting back full time into it now. I have the ZBrush going. I watched your stuff on the ZBrush. That was awesome from the last podcast.
Yeah.
Right now I'm working mostly with old school customs for some Mythic Legion stuff, because I'm really trusting right now in that G.I.JOE team. I mean, if you're giving me Darklon and Voltar and Metalhead this early, I'm like, you're going to give me what I want. I'm like, I'll just need to wait, be a little patient and go make some fantasy characters. So that's kind of what I've been working on at the moment. But the idea is to get it and be able to sculpt all my own stuff and print it, because it's real fun. Like, I really enjoy that stuff.
At some point, we'll bring up everyone's stores so we can kind of scroll through some of it. Like the heads on your store, just nuts. They're so good. Like,
thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm blown away every time. Like, I try not to look on Etsy because it just makes me feel like I'm doing nothing.
Wow. Well, I kind of feel that way whenever I see you put up your stuff. I'm just like, holy cow, Mark put up some stuff.
So. I'm really like, I started like real similar to you, right? Like, I was just kind of making some stuff for myself, and then I'm sure you guys have gotten the fry from Futurama with the money. Like, take my money. I'm sure people send that shit to you guys all the time too. And so it's just like, I'll experiment a little bit and see what happens, and it grew real fast. But go ahead.
Well, I know you did this kit here, the eel kit. So I made a little attachment for the bottom of it. I don't know if you can see it, but it snaps onto the bottom. And then you can put it on one of the articulating flight stands, or like the Mezco or whatnot. A little shaky here.
Oh,
okay. Just kind of snaps in. And this is really dusty, so I apologize if you can see it, but I kind of got like a whole setup here I can toss around. But like, I loved your eel kit. I'm sad that Hasbro didn't give us a real retro kit for that.
It's so weird. And well, I don't know if they.
You kind of see them all.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And the idea is on a shelving or a wall, you just you can drill little holes in it and just have these things everywhere. Kind of want to have like a underwater scene.
That was so cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, but I wonder, I think they put the eel out pretty quick because they knew the demand was there. And then there was a lot of feedback about like, hey, what the hell? Why didn't we get the retro gear? But now, like, the Flint's gonna have new gear. Like, they're course correcting, but I think it's too late for the eel. So
yeah, maybe we'll get lucky in the future if they do a rerun. But
re-release.
A re-release.
A re-release. Yeah. Well, I mean, that is sort of
retro.
That is the G.I.JOE bread and butter from years ago. So much reuse and re-release. That's
no kidding, right? Like, that torpedo body is like the torpedo, the eel, the diver. Now we're gonna have the other two Joe divers. So it's pretty good. But they're gonna put those two together in a kit with all that gear. How much was the diver figure? Is this like $30 for this thing?
They were like 35.
Yeah.
Are we looking at $80? $75 for the
double?
Yeah.
Probably.
50, they'll probably do 60.
That bugged me a bit because I didn't see the couple of retro figures at first, and it just seemed like there's no basic figures anymore. They're just gonna grab as much money as they can from us.
Yeah, well, in that Mass Effect the element, that's worth like that's $35 right there just to buy that, I think.
I'm super curious if this is leading us into are we going to get a mass device for a HasLab?
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's a weird way to do a HasLab and
Yeah,
Because now it's not a vehicle; it'd be what, like a play set.
a play set. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with it. There's a lot of cool things they could do with it. You know, sounds
I
and
don't think it's
lights.
iconic enough. I think what they're doing is they're just taking the existing figures and they're creating mass device versions to be able to resell them.
Mhm.
You know, like Snake Eyes with a polar bear.
Yeah,
You don't really
it
need
sounds
to
like
Snake Eyes, but you know, hey, that polar bear is really cool looking.
it sounds like the mass device thing is they're treating it like a sub team. So I think it's gonna all be Target exclusive stuff.
Probably so, but I don't see them going all out with a mass device.
No,
HasLab.
I think it would be difficult to get the critical mass you need to get something like that in production. I think that would be tough unless it's modular and does other stuff. Maybe it can be a command center or a weather dominator too.
You can
who
actually
knows?
teleport your figures across the room. With
Right,
it.
it's an actual working teleportation device. You just have to buy all the other figures to get the elements, or it doesn't work.
Yeah,
So.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
That's a good point.
Next thing you know, you're jumping into a volcano trying to get in.
I think the problem too with the mass device is, they did it before. Back in the late 2000s, they had to set out the sets where you could piece it all together. But when you put the mass device together, I can just hear Zoolanders saying, "How are you going to teleport people with a teleporter made for ants?"
Yeah.
It was this tiny thing.
Yeah.
It's like what was the I'll go back to that one. But yeah, it was undersized compared to what it was supposed to be, and people were just tore it apart. And if you tried to do a HasLab for it,
there isn't a lot of great
medium.
design happening on that thing.
Yeah,
you would definitely have to classify it up a bit.
Is there a good 1/12 scale? There's got to be, right, out there somewhere for 3D printing mass device. Surely
there have been a couple out there.
Yeah. If you throw through the group, you could probably just go to the search thing.
Yeah.
Group. There's definitely. I remember seeing pictures of a guy who had done one, and it was like a small coffee table in his living room. In the picture, it's in front of his. He's got it in front of his TV, and it's pretty good size.
To think about it, the way that it's scaled, it has about the footprint of 4 HISS tanks. So if you think about how big your classified HISS tank is, yeah,
I just looked at mine behind me.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
well, I had to nope out on the Rattler because it was just too big. I couldn't.
Same here.
I couldn't. I wanted it. I like the figures, but it's just too much shelf space.
Yeah, I'm printing right now. I'm printing a Conquest. And, I spent a bunch of. I don't think I've even put up any pictures of this yet, but I spent a lot of time making the wings kind of pop out and fold up. And
just to save space.
Yeah, so I can put it on a shelf, or even for transporting it. Like if I want to take it to a show, it takes up so much. I would have to get a van and build some kind of shelving system in the van if I want to bring that and 2 other things. So, but I'm dying to find out if this thing can support its own weight.
Yeah,
and I've been so I've just gotten back into FDM printing, where it's kind of that was my wife's thing. I do the resin. So when I have needed FDM things, I give her the STL file, and
just cheating.
Absolutely.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice.
That's amazing.
It's been really nice. It's been fan-fucking-tastic. But the machines, no shit, have had old mail and stuff stacked on top of them for a while. And so yeah, and thanks to Mike there, who talked me through setting Cura up again. But I've been I print some stuff like this. I'm not gonna pull it out, but I printed one thing. No, I printed one thing, and it was I think the infill was probably 22-23%. The wall thickness was 2. It was solid, but it was real heavy. And then so then I went the other way, and the walls were too thin. And it was nice and light, but I could squeeze it and it would just come apart like a bird's nest. So it's
that's actually one of the reasons why, like, because I've, it's been in the back of my mind to try and lean into some of the diorama stuff, and going back to FDM printing, because I've got a bamboo and I've got a Cobra Viper. So I mean, I've got like a not G.I.JOE Cobra, but some big. I've got a big frame printing too. But I just like, there's so many little finicky settings. Like, is it gonna survive shipping? Is it gonna, like,
it's terrifying.
Yeah, and two, just to be perfectly honest, the failure rate on FDM has been, I get, maybe because I'm bad at it, I don't know, but
I'm bad at it too.
My failure rate is just doesn't make it worth economically feasible.
So I really wanted to get it. I thought when I got the store and it was starting to get successful, I thought, cool, I'm going to do 112 scale and I'll do some 1/6 scale stuff because I know the 12-inch guys are out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and
kind of starving, a lot of them.
Yeah, well, as soon as I put some stuff up on my store, that, like, this isn't what I ordered, is what I started getting. Like, you can create different categories within the Etsy store, but unless the customer clicks on them and so that they're only seeing what they want, they're seeing kind of everything.
Yeah.
And people, this has been my experience with Etsy customers, and I'm kind of the same with the internet. You go and you just, there's the thing I want, click. It's real hard getting people to read.
Yes.
The title, read the product description.
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
No.
I knew, and I feel right now, like, 3D prints are not the right way to do production, the additive manufacturing. And I really, really desperately tried to kind of get out of it and get into some other stuff. And it just didn't kind of work. It didn't really take off. My own fault for probably just not advertising enough, but man, people do not read. No. They don't read.
And I'll tell. So on that business front, like, can I just talk just for a second about my production process?
Yeah.
So Jason is way faster than me, like 100% way faster than me, because I think a lot of his stuff is pre-printed. I have spent all of it. There you go. I've spent 3 years banging the drum of my stuff is made to order. Otherwise, how could I offer 200 or 2,000 plus items?
Right.
It's made to order. I have a great library that I want to share with everybody. But, like, it's like, I get messages all the time like, hey, it's been 2 weeks. Where's my stuff? I was like, it takes 4 weeks. I don't know what to tell you. That's just like, it's now a picture in the picture gallery that says it. It's twice in the description. It's in the store about. It's in the email confirmation that they get after they order. I mean, it's everywhere. And I still get people, they're like, why is it taking so long? I'm like, well, first of all, it's made to order. And secondly, it took me 2 months to get Doc Nocturnal from Mezco, and it was in stock. So, I mean, like, and I'm one dude, I'm one guy, essentially, doing all this. So that's my frustration with not reading the description. Like, look at the description. If it's going to take 4 to 5 weeks to get a bunch of gear, that's why I try and make it cheap comparatively.
Yeah.
But then I also don't have to deal with inventory because I just don't have the room for it. I don't have the logistics to keep up with inventory. So kudos to Jay for figuring it out, but that's why I do a print on demand model.
Well, let's hear from him and see if he thinks he's figured it out.
If I figured it out, I think honestly, the approach is for my brain. If I had stuff I needed to make to order, I think I would go insane and just feel like this immense pressure. So really, it's the choices about how I can go happily to serve people, I guess you could say. I would, I know Gnome's paint shop was print to order as well. And I know he struggled at times. And I just never wanted to get to that point where I could get behind. It's like a fear, like negative reviews. Oh my God, I hate reading those.
Oh yeah.
Like, it just tears me up. Even if I get 100 good ones and one bad one, that one bad one sticks hard. It's
Yeah.
really strange.
At least think about it all day, like that day, the day I get it.
I haven't personally got a lot of negative. Maybe it's because I don't pay enough attention. But there was one that I got real early, and I had done what's his name? Fireflies Mat 49. I had done that for classified in classified scale, and I got this one guy who got it and was like, "How can you say this is 112 scale? Are you crazy? Are you blind?" And he had pictures of it in a 3 3/4 inch Firefly figure's hand. He made it fit in the hand, and it's monstrous in this figure's hand. And he's like, "Look, it fits this figure perfectly. So what the hell?"
So like
I
your
don't know.
Saw Viper pics from the
Yeah, it's like it was ridiculous. It was, and like I just didn't even know what I don't know. But yeah, like you're just not going to please everybody for sure.
No, and that's kind of what I've had to come to terms with that. If they message me first before the review, like I will bend over backwards to, but because of the fact that I'm printing on demand, I don't have a lot of inventory overhead, so I can't afford to grease the wheels a little bit. And like if something screwed up, I can give you a refund, or I can send you another one in your next order if you order from me again. And I don't think I've sent a package out in the last 2 years that hasn't had a freebie in it. I just always throw in freebies. So that's kind of how I try and give back a little bit. Because when I was first looking for stuff for myself, it was a lot of it was casted. And that stuff is real cool, but it was also ridiculously expensive. It was like $20 for a gun.
Yeah.
Or $15 for a big gun or whatever. That was just not doable. So I'm always trying to keep it reasonable, for the customer, because I just want to be. None of us got into this to start a new career. I didn't anyway. I can't speak for everybody.
What made you guys decide that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just do an Etsy shop or something like that? Like, what made you go from a few of my guys or buddies hearing that I make some stuff and I sell it to, okay, I'm going to put it up on a shop?
I wanted a second printer.
Hey, that's a good inspiration.
Well, so for me, it was I was posting pics in groups and people were asking me, can I buy that? Can you make one? I'll pay for it. And I was trying to think, how am I going to do this? And before I got around to selling anything, I had more requests than I could quickly figure out how to organize.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, and my wife had an Etsy store for a little while, years earlier. I'm like, I'll try Etsy. It's just, I didn't want to I didn't want to relearn HTML or whatever that's called now and figure out how to create my own shop. That was just going to be way too much work. So I just went with something that existed. So it turned out to be Etsy. Etsy makes it easy.
They make it.
They take a chunk of the change, but
that's the issue, right? That's the flip side. But they do, so many of my sales come from internal Etsy promotions, just because they're searching stuff on Etsy, and at this point I've got so many reviews and so many sales, and I've been at it for so long that if you search something G.I.JOE, it's probably going to be first page. It's going to be some of my stuff, and it's going to be some of Jay's stuff. So it really does, and the international shipping they make real easy too, because they kind of handle all that for you.
No shit.
Yeah.
The international shipping with Etsy is worth it by itself.
Yeah. So I'll take the cut. I'll take the percentage. And as far as why I did it, it was a lark, and both my wife and my daughter thought I was ridiculous. They're like, nobody's going to buy these, Dad. Nobody wants these, Dad.
Never underestimate the power of nerds.
Right? Yes, I was like, you don't know my niche. You don't know my niche.
Yeah, they don't know your people. They did not know.
My daughter, when she found out about it for the first time, she had come to visit. She was in college, and she brought up my store on the phone and just starts going through the review. Do they solicit for the reviews, by the way? Do people get tag like, hey, you bought this thing,
Yeah.
I bought stuff and I get tagged on it.
Okay, I haven't bought anything on Etsy yet, so I wasn't sure because I don't fill out reviews hardly ever. I should.
I don't either.
But I sure as shit get them. I get like every day, and it's always like 2 a.m, and my friend will be like, "Bing,
please review this thing."
But my daughter just started reading. She just couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe like adult men were on Etsy buying this stuff.
Yeah, right. I do pre-print wearables. Somebody in the chat was like reprint, like pre-print your
top 10.
Your top 10.
Yeah.
I pre-print all of my wearables, which is why that's one of the things on my shop that's the inventory cycles. But Jason may have had this problem too, but like the last couple of weeks, I can't print wearables. It's too cold.
It's cold, yeah. I had to turn the heat up in the shop, honestly. That's what I did to combat it. I mean, I'm in California, so cold to me is it hits barely freezing at night. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a little different than you guys.
I'm outside of Denver, and honestly, most of the winter we stay kind of mid 50s.
Oh, okay.
But we're like, I had a week where it was 2 degrees every morning, and like there's nothing I can do. Like I have ventilation because I need the fumes from the resin to go out, so there's it's piping right into the machine effectively. It got cold. And I did want to ask you guys, do you guys paint? Do you sell painted products or just prints?
Just started doing that. Yeah,
you just started. That was early on. I was painting and it was doing well, but it's so much goddamn work.
I tried to because of you. I tried to start doing that too when I initially started, and I'm still mad at you for it because it was way too much work.
It's so much work, but so I got away from it. I was like, I'm just not gonna do this anymore. And like real quick, the remainder of the stuff that was painted sold out, and then like the unpainted stuff didn't move. So I went back to painting.
End user ready. I mean, that's how you got to look at it.
Well, that's what people want.
You're selling to customizers, or you're selling to guys who can't paint.
And in my mind, I'm selling to both. But the truth is, most people want a finished product. Period.
Correct.
So when I started, I tried to do custom paint jobs, and I would like offer like, this is before Etsy, it's pre-Etsy, but before Etsy, I would offer like just a lot. It was like it was like 5 to 10 guns or whatever, and they had custom paint jobs and weathering and all that stuff. And then when I started to do the Etsy store, I was like, okay, I can't really do all the custom paint work, but I can paint them black. And then I discovered the black resin from I don't even remember, Tough. I guess it's resin 1, the Tough black resin. But it was a little too brittle, so eventually, and TH72, the gray resin, was like perfect. So when I first started to use TH72, I would spray paint everything like in mass before the order went out.
Yep.
And then I just got to the point I was like, okay, you got to paint it yourself. Just that's where I'm at. Now I do offer custom painting. I don't do most of it. My son does most of it, but it's very selective. It's just because he's a Warhammer painter, and he's really good, and he's fast.
That's where my start. That was my start too.
Me
Warhammer.
too. Yeah, me too.
Nerds.
Yeah, for sure.
Warhammer nerds.
But I give my son a head sculpt to paint, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great," because he's used to painting, a head that's like that big, and then like I give him a head that's that big, and he's. So he does some of my painting, but it's all on demand. I don't stock any pre-paint stuff.
Painting's brutal. Part of my thing with painting is I want to get something on the resin to prevent it from getting more UV than I want it to get, because if you lay a raw rifle, like a rifle, right, you lay it down and you leave it on a table and there's a window anywhere nearby, in a week it's gonna bowed up.
It's contracting.
Well, the one side's contracting, so
right. Whatever's getting that extra UV love.
So so for me, that's part of it. Is just like getting some paint on there, so it's sort of safe and it's not gonna wiggle around. But I'm like Jay, like I have it in inventory, or I don't sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because like I like the pressure of having, like, I owe these people this thing. I can't deal with that.
I've somehow managed to come to terms with it. I don't know how, but I've managed to come to terms. Now, I mean, I've got 5 printers going, so you know, I mean, there's a lot of work there, but I can really pack a plate though. I'm really good at packing a plate.
So so part of it for me, right? Like, so if like there is a real mental switch in my brain between printing for me and printing for someone else.
Yep.
And when I'm printing for me, like, if I have a fail, yeah, it's a kick in the balls, but you know, oh poo. If I'm printing for someone else and it fails, it's just too much. It's
gotcha.
too much.
Let's talk about quality, guys. Like, I mean, obviously, if you're selling online, what is that like line of quality for you? Like how do you sort of determine, like, okay, these should go out and these are crap?
That's a tough one, because I keep being told, like, my girlfriend tells me that the little tiny things that I see, no one else sees, but I can't unsee them, the lines. So my eyes are really bad. I have 3 pairs of glasses. I have like close, I have computer, I have that. So I try to catch all that stuff. And sometimes if you don't maintain your printers, you get those little layer lines if you don't, you know, keep that stuff greased and nice and lubed. So sometimes those sneak in on me, and it upsets me. So to me, it's like trying to get the best look on each piece that's visually, you know, what the assumed visual front is for it, and to hide any kind of supports or that. Because I mean, I don't clip or sand. If they don't come off easy, I don't do it. I could not do what I do if I had to sit and do each one. Like Figure Gear would sell them with their supports on, and then the end user would clip them. But I could not. If they didn't pull off, I could not do it. So to get back to the question of quality, hopefully it's 100% for me. Like, I want to use the best resins. I want the toughest resins. I want, you know, and if you get a break, and I say this to people, I don't know if they always take it up on me, I'll replace your break. I don't care if it's you or me. I want your project to be complete. I don't care if, you know, I sent you 3 guns because 2 of them broke. That's on me for either how I packed it or the cold. God, I hate the cold.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the resin. Sometimes the resin prints have flaws in them, and they do snap in weird places. But like, to me, it's like I want to be known. I don't want to be known as somebody who sells crappy stuff. And so I don't know. It's the pressure that you kind of put on yourself.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah.
I have. It's pretty funny. I think I've been kind of lucky, actually, because there are some pretty, like, not great reviews, like 3 and 2-star reviews, but it's almost, a lot of times it's like I had to wait too long, but the product looks good. So, you know, I think that generally speaking, people are usually happy with the quality of my product. But now, because of the way we do it, and because it is made to order, and because sometimes there is a time crunch, because life happens, you know, life happens to you. We had a rough December and kind of a rocky start to January as well, because of personal stuff. But so there's going to be some QC, you know, quality control that slips by me. It was much better when my wife had time to help me pack the orders. She doesn't really do as much of that anymore, but she was really good at catching those little those kind of obvious imperfections, because she doesn't do it every day like we do. So when Jason says, you know, no one else is seeing that, she's kind of seeing what the average person would see. Okay. So she was really good at helping me catch those QC issues in packing. But, you know, I'm like Jason. I need it to come clean off the supports, and I usually can hit a pretty good sweet spot. Once you get the supports right, you know, you're going to have pretty good consistency. I guess I'm like 90%. I probably have like a 10% failure rate, but because I'm made to order and because of the way the model's set up, it really doesn't affect me, because I'll just churn it to the next plate, and it usually prints fine. So that's how I deal with that.
Yeah, my
plate failures are rough.
Yes.
Like I'm running a Jupiter, and I'm printing almost exclusively on the Jupiter now for the store for the resin stuff, and there's a flaw in the design of the Jupiter in that when you level the bed, you've got these little set screws that go against a post, and it kind of over time, like the bed comes unlevel,
Warps.
and I don't know if I'm not sure. I don't.
I have a hate relationship with mine. It's sitting in a corner.
You got a Jupiter?
If you tighten that thing too much, I think it pulls the center, like it warps it the way.
Yeah, it wants to push that little post out because it's a flat top of a screw against a round post. So the more pressure you put
every time, every 2 times.
It's right now. It seems like every 3 or 4 prints. I just do it.
This is maybe a good time to talk about the hardware for a moment without getting.
Well, I wanted to chime in on the supports thing real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But and so for me, it was an evolution, right? And it's more about how I've learned to print and how resins have kind of changed over time. Like when I started printing, the resins, and it didn't matter which one, if it was gray or translucent or what, they were glass. You broke it, you dropped it.
Oh yeah,
it broke, and it broke like glass. There was no putting it back together. It was sharp. It was so smooth. No glue wouldn't stick to it. And then you start getting like the ABS like stuff, and you start adding the tenacious to it. And now like TH72 by itself, period.
Out of the box.
It's
a miracle.
It is the best, period. That is all I use now. But supports, I can't imagine shipping something with supports still attached.
I couldn't either.
Because if you cure it with the supports attached, it's fucked.
There's a lot of
and it's going to have an artifact.
There's like YouTube videos out there that show you that was like, oh, just cure it with the supports and take the support. I was like, what are you doing to yourself? You're creating pits in this thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So my thing now is I print stuff up, I get it all washed, and then I go fill a sink with hot water, drop everything in it, let it warm up, and then things should just pull off like butter.
Right.
Every once in a while, you get a couple little things that want to hang on, and I can easily kind of get those off. But
I give it 20. I give it 25 minutes in a 99% alcohol wash.
I'll soften it up. That's a long ass time.
But they just come right off.
Yeah,
they just come right off. Now,
so trick
if you got hollow pieces, you're screwed. Like you can't live it in for that long if you got hollow pieces. But
yeah,
I got a $5 hair from Goodwill. I just warm them up right there. It's works pretty good.
Yeah.
No. Okay. I do. I use the hairdryer sometimes, but if I've got 60 guns on a plate, like right, but you'd have to because you gotta you can't hit them with a hairdryer or hot water until like you've got the raw resin off of it, right? And then for me, I don't, maybe it's because I'm old and don't see as well. If I start using a hairdryer on a pile of really light things, some of them are going to go. And
there's a low setting.
Yeah. I don't have that kind of time.
I relate to that. It took me too long to use painter's tape to stick stuff to it, to either put a finish or a paint on them. It took me way too long.
I was doing like the flipping the tape over, so it's sticky on both sides, and that's how I would paint things for a long time. Now I've just bought so much poster tack.
Poster blue tack, blue tack's your best friend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. So I wanted to chime in about the supports, but but we were going to talk about something else.
Equipment,
actual
hardware.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I was just going to say I have a hate relationship. Jason said he had a love-hate relationship with.
No, he said hate.
He said hate.
Oh, you said hate? Okay, good. Because I have a hate relationship with anything larger than like a Mars 5, Mars 4. I think it comes down to there's something I'm not doing right. So I've always stuck with small form printers. The biggest thing I offer on my store right now is the HasLab Giant Man scroll head. That's the biggest thing I print, and it takes up the majority of that plate. But all my other accessories are so small that I just don't use the large form resin printers. I've had a Saturn. I'm sure it's gotten better since I've had one, but I got rid of it. I'm using 2 Mars 5 Ultras with auto leveling. That has made my life way better. Do have to change the FEP because the way it prints, you have to change it more frequently. But that's the liner on the vat that holds the resin. But and then I use the Mars 4s, and I use the Mars 4s because of the problem you were talking about, Mark, with the set screw. It uses the 4 set screws on on 2 on each side to level the plate, and you have to level it I found I have to level it way less frequently, and I use those primarily for like overflow with my. One has I have 3 of those. One has TH72, and the other 2 are the ones I use for my resin prints. So that's my current lineup. But most of my stuff's been Mars.
What do you mean
2,
the other ones for like? Because TH72 is resin. Like, what do you mean? And then the other 2 are resin.
Oh, the other two are. I'm sorry. The other 2 are F69.
Gotcha.
For the wearable stuff.
Gotcha.
And then the one Mars 4 with the TH72 is just like I need to print a plate, and both my Mars 5s are going. So
okay. So it sounds like you have different printers for different types of resins, basically.
Yeah, I have not tried, although it did help a guy successfully get a good F69 plate out of a Mars 5, but I haven't done any. The F69 is the flexible rubber like stuff.
Yeah,
that I haven't done a lot of that on the Mars 5 because of the way it prints, because the bed is also moving. The way the Mars 5 works, the bed is moving and the plate is moving at the same time. So it's faster, but I'm worried about tearing and print fails on that. So I haven't. So I use the Mars 4 because they're a little more predictable.
The F69 has some real touchy / specific settings you got to follow. I found.
Oh yeah.
And it does not like the cold.
No.
I never used that actually.
Yeah, TH72. I was having this conversation with Chris Scott the other day. TH72 will print all the time. Like, and he's down in Florida. He's like, it doesn't matter how cold it gets, it'll print. It can be 110 degrees outside, or it can be 40 degrees. It'll print every time, no fails. I'm like, that's not my experience, but it's certainly better than everything else I've used by a long shot.
The Mars 5s have I have heaters in my Mars 5s.
Nice.
But you can't leave them on because that temperature differential will cause visible lines.
So I'm at the point now where if I'm starting a print, I empty the vat, which is like a
a whole bottle, right? Is it a whole bottle?
It's more than a whole bottle. It's like if you go to a cafeteria and you get a tray, like that's the size of this goddamn vat. But I'll pour that into like a Tupperware container, and I'll submerge it, not underwater, but I'll submerge it up to the level in hot water and preheat the resin.
Yes.
And then I will use a hair dryer on the build plate. And I don't need it to be hot, but I need it to be lukewarm or room temperature-ish. If I touch the plate and it feels ice cold, I go heat that thing up before I print.
That's why I just got the resin heaters that are inside the enclosure for the Mars 5s. I just got them, I think in maybe November, but I basically use them as a preheater.
Yeah.
So I heat them up and I'll let the first couple layers go ahead and get started, and then I'll turn the heater off.
Yeah.
Because
once it starts going, it's creating its own heat.
Exactly. Yeah.
The thing you got to watch out for. We got like 20 people watching. If you preheat it too much, it cures faster and you'll get more grow. So if you've got pieces that have to like interlock and go together, you got to be pretty specific about how you preheat that stuff.
Also, supports that are real close to the wall.
Oh yeah, they'll fuse.
They'll fuse. Yeah.
But again, like this is because. Like I'm not printing in my living room or in my office. Like I'm printing in an out of the way place where I can vent, and that happens to be a place where, if it's 10 degrees outside, it absolutely affects the hell out of my machines.
Yeah. What are your main machines, Jason?
Right now, well, I kind of have my Jupiter on hiatus. I'm running 2 Saturn 4 Ultras, 3 Saturn 2s. I love the Saturn 2. That thing is such a workhorse. And I still have a couple Mars 2 Pros that just won't die, and they're so solid and they don't fail.
No, I've got 3 that are still kicking it out there. I'm giving them to some of my students though that want to get into 3D printing.
I fell into this weird thing where just timing wise, when I started the business, 2021, I think.
Yeah.
I got a Mars, just Mars, not Mars 2, not Mars Pro, Mars.
I've still got one of those at school.
And then I ended up with 3 of those, and the plate was small, so I was like, I just need a bigger machine. So I got a Saturn, not a Saturn 2, not a Saturn Pro, not a Saturn, and then I got 2 Saturns. I'm like, yeah, I still need to go bigger, and I got the Jupiter. And so like each of these machines I got is like the original baseline, compared to where they're at now, piece of shit models with no frills. And it's like at some point I want to buy like a top of the line machine that stays kind of relevant for more than a month. But like all these other ones still work technically.
Yeah, if they work, they work.
Yeah, if they work. Yeah, exactly. That's
like I'd love to get a bamboo, but like I've got 3 CR10s that are running right now. Like why would I do that?
And sort of their particulars, their funny little like, I've got one printer that like for some reason it's always like cures a little faster. It's a little hotter.
Yeah.
So, you got to adjust it down just a little bit. So like when you live with them a while, but I've had Mars, Mars 2s, Mars 3s, Mars 4s, and Mars 5s now. I've had all the Mars.
How does that happen? You're just like, fuck it, money's coming in, we'll upgrade.
Yeah, a bit like that. And
I'm only jealous.
The other thing too is like I do use some of this in my actual job occasionally. Like we did Little Mermaid last year, and the Ariel's dad has a fit and he ruins like the bust of the prince or whatever that she has in her little grotto. So I actually did a 3D scan of the actor. We had 2 actors playing it, so I did 3D scans of both the actors, and I made a sculpt that was in pieces and would come apart.
That's so cool.
We used a little air piston to bust it, so he'd like gesture towards it and it'd bust apart.
Awesome.
So I justify getting the new toys a little bit like that, because
for like I had like the like I don't touch the Mars anymore. I gave one to a friend that works at a toy shop, and I don't think he's even used it yet. One cannibalized to make another one sort of better, but it's like no one in their right mind is going to buy a worn, obsolete machine. Like the only place they can go is the trash.
Yeah, well, in my corner in my garage where I do all my work, it's not a pretty place to live.
Yeah.
Because it's got, the resins, it's got some resin splashes here and there. But there's tarps and everything's laid down. All the stuff that's valuable is protected. But the printers, they get pretty disastrous. Now I've seen worse, granted, but you're right. After you use them, especially printing the volume that I do, I just kind of toss them. I'm giving a couple to some students, like I said, that I have retired. So that because they want to get into it. But
so yeah, with the original Mars, They all had, there was 3 different motherboards that you could have inside, and I burned those things out. Like I replaced the LCD screens on all of them, and depending on what the motherboard is inside will dictate which screen you have.
Which screen you get. You order the wrong screen. I've done that twice.
Yeah, like what a pain in the ass those machines turned out to be. But then like one of them, a fan, there's a controller for a fan in there that stopped working, so it would just get hot. And then it would just cure the whole fucking vat.
Well,
that's the one that wound up in the.
That's the thing that really kills you, because on a resin printer, like if you have a fail on the FEP in the vat, like you essentially don't lose any money. Whereas like if you're using an FDM, it could spaghetti all over your. it's a you waste a
Oh,
bunch
yeah.
of PLA.
Yeah.
But like with resin, usually like, oh, well, it failed, but at least it didn't print anymore. You know, like the resin's still useful.
Right.
I just gotta strain it. But yeah, if the whole thing's getting so hot that the vat cures, then you're out a lot of money.
I
That
couldn't believe
happened.
it.
Yep.
Wait, and it's like, and I remember the day it happened. I walked up to it, and it was, you know, you had to lift the whole cover off, and I reached out to it, and it was like, that's warm.
And there was just a brick. Yeah.
I just want to tell you, I think I just figured out my Saturn IV Ultra problem with our TH72, with my TH72 based on our conversation, because I was getting blooming for it. And based on what we're talking about, if that's going too fast, the heat in the resin is building up quicker than you would usually have in a regular printer. So if like you said, when you heat up the resin, the stuff starts sticking together.
Yeah.
And I have that nonstop where the prints in there, and it was just frustrating the crap out of me. So I wasn't using TH72 in those. But
do you have like real visible lines?
With that, no, not visible lines. It's literally like a support shouldn't be stuck to the side of it, and it is. Like printed in a different printer, it's not there. It's just, and it's not close enough that you think it would.
And I suspect you're experienced enough to know, like, it's not like there's a window and the sunlight comes through and hits the printer.
Right?
Oh
yeah, no.
Yeah, right,
no, absolutely.
Because that kicked my ass in the beginning. The first printer I had was a. I got the very first Anycubic Photon, and I had it like in my. This wasn't even this house, I don't think. But yeah, I was getting like layers of. I called it skinning. I would get like these, like this skin hanging off the supports and all over the place. I couldn't figure out what was causing it, and it's not like it was, you know, like there was a window in the room, and it had not curtains but blinds, and the printer was on the other side of the room. It wasn't getting direct light, but it was enough. It was enough. Yeah, that fucked me up for a while.
Wow.
Yeah. When I first started, I tried out the water washable, and I'm like, okay, I tossed my stuff in a bucket, walked it outside to the hose.
Oh no!
It wasn't clean. It wasn't clean.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh my god, what was I thinking?
Oh wow!
Good times. So
good times.
But let's go ahead and if you guys don't mind, I'll bring up your Etsy stores.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll just kind of scroll through,
Yeah,
so everyone can kind of see what we're talking about.
I take horrible pictures. Dillon,
I'm worse than you.
No. Well, Dillon's amazing. Like his ads on Etsy.
Oh, absolutely.
Stuff he puts out. I'm just happy to have it in focus.
Well, that's that. It's my play nights. It's like I just did these leathernecks yesterday, the new leatherneck guns.
Very nice.
But yeah, that's just when I'm able to have fun and play with my toys is when I take my pictures.
Is that the same gun twice?
No, it's got different attachments. Like one's got like a little red dot, and then one's
I see it on top of the handle.
Yeah, one's got an ACOG and one's just got a handle.
Gotcha.
It's just a little meatier, more modern M4.
So So let's we'll talk about. I do want to talk about the gridiron because they're part of this whole the buzz with the Ostriker we were kind of talking.
Oh
about
yeah,
before.
100%.
So
yeah,
let's talk.
100%.
We'll talk about them real quick, but they're crushing it. Like
always.
Yeah, I love your variety, man. Like I like Halo.
This is the
you see that stuff.
You see that the little 40mm grenades on the back of Leatherneck there?
Yeah, right here.
That's the kind of stuff that I'm kind of doing now. Whether than like Jason was saying, like if I make gear for a specific figure or I have a sculptor that makes a head, that means that figure is probably going to come out. So I'm just trying to find ways to like tweak what we've got. You know, like here's some things that can make Leatherneck a little cooler or a little more realistic or a little more like the original figure or whatever. You know, because like I've got this, you know, belt fed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
M60 for the Saw Viper.
Oh.
And then I've got another Saw Viper gun that fits his belt that he's already got. So you don't have to buy one. You can just like plug it into what you already got. So those are the kind of things I'm trying to do. That's why I'm doing those little upgrade videos on Instagram the last couple of weeks. So
the Saw Viper stuff I think is going to do well.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of that, yes,
This
I
is great.
designed some of that stuff, but I mean, I've just got great partners. I use some of the same people that Jason uses too. They're, try and do some custom stuff. STL Custom Collections is doing my Transformers as Joe's, inspired by some fan artwork that's out there. I got Megatron coming next month. This is one of the things I designed, built a cannon, an arm cannon for the figure. The Megatron as a Cobra head. It's got the
cool
Decepticon symbol there on it. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff I've been doing lately. Just trying to enhance what's coming out, because I think a lot of ways, design wise, they're killing it. So you're just trying to brush it up a little bit, like some web gear for the Sleepwalkers from Operation Monster Force. Those are awesome figures. They just I just wanted them to have a holster.
I just saw that.
And some web gear, so I made some.
Yeah, gorgeous, man. Yeah, I'm like every bit that you do, I find it's like you got to learn to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're 3D designing, that's a whole damn language to learn, right? Like it's a lot. Printing is a whole skill to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Photography is a whole other thing to learn. Running the store is a whole thing to learn.
Painting.
It's just painting. Like I think we're all kind of one person, right? Like it's a lot. It is a lot. And if I don't know, I definitely didn't have a plan when I got into this. And I think it shows.
A lot of the stuff I do is like the way Jason started. I just did stuff to make me happy. Like the people have really responded to it, but like, I read the Operation Monster Force fiction of the Forgotten King collecting all these relics. So I started making relics. Like I started just finding weird stuff on 3D modelers websites that they would let me license or was already license free, and I would retool it and readjust it so that I could print it in 1/12 scale, but skulls with Celtic symbols on it, and alchemy tools, and
it's awesome.
That's like just my imagination. Something strikes in my imagination, so I really don't have a plan either. It's just like whatever I felt like that day. This is where.
And if it works, it works, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if it strikes a chord, great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
I've never really had a good grasp of what people are gonna want and what's gonna sell well, and it's a weird thing. So I did like a retro pistol for Destro. Like the original Destro figure. I did that in classified scale. It doesn't have a trigger guard. It's kind of it's an odd looking little piece.
It's available on AnthanatosUnlimited.com as we speak.
I might have that file.
But the point, it always moves. It doesn't race out. But every other, I can print.
You print a lot of those at once.
I can print a shitload of those at once, and so that's what I'll do. I'll just fill up a plate with them because they're small. And, I paint them up. I put them in the thing, and then every couple of months, it's like, hey, are you going to restock these? I'm like, what?
It's like those gold-plated Desert Eagles for Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like they sell like hotcakes.
Oh yeah, I had done Peacemaker's gun for yeah, and holy crap, people
also available on AnthanatosUnlimited.com, because a lot of Mark was kind enough many years ago to sell me a bunch of licenses to some.
And I still, well, actually I don't sell that one anymore, but that was one that drove me nuts because I made it for the McFarlane figure. What are they, 10-inch or 7-inch? Whatever the hell those are. It's not the same scale as.
No,
it's not.
It's 1/10 ish.
Yeah. So again, I had it in a separate category, kind of by itself on my store, and people would buy it and be like, "This is way too damn big for my G.I. Joe." It's like it's not made for them. It's made for the figure that should have come with it.
That is the other nice thing about doing on-demand stuff too, is I can make those little modifications as needed.
Yeah. As long as they communicate to you what they want.
Yes. Which is another problem. But I do have some drop downs, like 1/12 scale or or 1/10 scale. So
see, I think these pictures are great.
I know his pictures are so clean. I actually am jealous of his pictures because his pictures look like product pictures. My pictures look like some kid playing in their,
Yeah, and that's what I want, is some kid playing.
The grass is always greener, Jason.
I've been sizing. I don't know if you guys have seen the Mythic Legion skeletons, the ones they just put out, a full skeleton. I've been sizing a bunch of military gear for it and have a bunch of drafts. It looks amazing, and those pictures are really good. So I'm hoping to get those launched today. Hopefully, you'll see them. I got a new background, a red background, but I don't know. It's going to be pretty fun seeing it. It reminds me of just like you'd have like a squad of Vietnam soldiers, but they're just like all skeletons walking there. It's kind of awesome.
That was my initial concept of my logo.
That was dope.
Oh, okay.
Was like a Vietnam skeleton that had strapped on a bunch of hardware.
So, okay, I have a question. Just, the catalog is crazy. How do you guys know, or how do you merit this being a successful venture?
I throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
You never know. Some things I probably have never sold.
Me too.
And then I've sold in the last month. When I first used the M70 resin was years ago. So the stuff that's printed in that, I know when I did it before I started mixing it with TH72. So, sometimes you just don't know. Like you're like, this is so hot, this is amazing, and then you hear crickets.
Also, like I know for a fact that I've got like anime character head sculpts in my library that I have licensed to sell, and I've never printed them because I really don't have a connection to them. And then also, I'm not like a figure arts collector, so I don't have a lot of the bodies that Dragon Ball Z or Naruto community are going to be using. Mm-hmm. So like that stuff I don't print. I look at what my, because I have a lot of Patreon partners. I look at what my Patreons come out with, and I kind of pick and choose. Like this might work. I can rework that to make it work. And then because I print everything. I test its size. Yes. I rescale it. Because like Don Man Art, like Esteban, Mark, Esteban. You guys have all met Esteban. Joe Fest. Yeah. So he's a great guy. He is super, super kind. He's a genuinely good human being. And he is a monster. He's a beast. He throws out so much product a month. I can't print all of his stuff. It's impossible. But he's gotten way better, but he used to be like 3% off. 3 or 4% off. He'd be a little bit too big. For my eye. So I would adjust every item, and I still do that with some of my partners, like Ghost Forge Studios, 3D Dios. It's the same people, but their 1/12 scale stuff I think is just a little too big, which is also my only real complaint with Gridiron too, is they're a little big, but they want to hit that sweet spot for 1/12 and 1/10.
Well, I think Gridiron too. I always assumed they were designing on the big side for strength.
They might be, because I'm still kind of, I don't really know. Their printing process is still kind of a mystery to me. There are so many cool, unique heads on Jason's store.
I just
gotta say,
yes, they are like Gridiron's not one dude.
Yeah, right.
Gridiron's
a real business.
It's like So
okay.
And so
that makes me feel better. It's not just two guys, right?
No, I think
no.
I remember Gridiron is the dad and 2 or 3 sons, and the sons are doing the cranking out.
One son primarily does. And this is older knowledge, but one son's definitely like the design guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the dad kind of runs the business. But what I would say is, like, I came into this with no plan. I came into this with like, I'll figure it out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They 100% had a plan when they started.
Yeah.
They had a great plan when they started, and they've been able, and it's serviced them very well.
I freaking love their drones. Their drones are like, I've wanted to do drones, but I don't.
The pack ready looking.
Yes,
Yeah.
all their drone, the Walker drone that looks like it gives me a Metal Gear Solid vibes.
Yeah.
It's just, I
The
love that
imagination's
stuff.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
I loved the when they did the little modular fort thing. Basically, it was it was like a crate, and then the crate would open up into walls, and it had gun mounts, and it had all kinds of configurations and stackable with a ladder. That was an amazing idea, and you can tell Hasbro took that idea directly with this.
The Outpost
Trench-
Alley Viper,
Trench
Viper.
Trench Viper, yeah, Trench Viper.
They just kind of combined it to make it look a little bit like a cross between the surveillance port and the bunker.
Yeah.
Some of the features, but hands down, the modular concept of that came from Gridiron.
Yeah. All right, so the Ostriker, like within the last week, we got 3 different DPV looking things announced. Like, so I saw one of the many posts this morning, and people were talking about them, and like one of the main complaints I saw was like the Gridiron one, like the price is ridiculous. If I were to make that thing, paint it, print it, process it,
$400,
assemble it,
Yeah.
and I'd be willing to do that like twice.
right? two lucky customers.
Yeah, like oh my fuck, that is so much work. It is not coming out of a factory in China. Like, they are Americans in California.
Yep.
Doing every single step of that entire process. It's going to be expensive. Period.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback off of what you're saying. And so, like, how do we get to pricing?
And this is a big concern I have, because there's talk now Hasbro's going to get out of making toys and just going to be an IP manager, right? I don't think they're going to let go of G.I. Joe right now, right? But like, if that were to happen, Hasbro's the big boy. Like, that's the biggest one, right? And because they're able to do things in big quantities bring the cost down.
Yeah.
If everything gets splintered and it's all little, and all the toy companies that are actually producing are all little guys, it's gonna get real fucking expensive.
Yeah, I think you look at the pricing on the Fresh Monkey Fiction stuff, and then you add $5 because they're gonna have to. If like, let's say another toy company picks up the Joe license in the future, because I'm with you, Mark. I don't think that's one they're looking to get rid of. But let's say they pick up the Marvel license, or they're a small company. They're going to have to pay licensing fees. That's why people complain about the Super 7 stuff. It's because now it does have some,
and Hasbro isn't going to go easy on the licensing fee either.
No, absolutely no. Because
just like Lucas, like
they've had to pay so much to Marvel and Star Wars, Disney. Disney in general. They're no way they're going to get their bit.
A lot of people don't realize this. Hasbro has to pay a license on Transformers too.
Yeah,
everyone thinks, oh, that's a Hasbro brand. No, actually, it's a Takara brand. So they're still paying Japan on everything. So Joe is the only boys' toy that is theirs completely, that they're not paying a license on.
Well, they own Power Rangers now outright.
Oh, do they?
Okay, so before they were paying that to Bandai.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a good point. But my understanding is Power Rangers is like completely dead. There's nothing.
It is.
It's a done line.
For Hasbro, I think they're launching it with a different company. I don't remember who it was. Maybe Jada. I think there was a Power Rangers announcement recently.
Okay.
For licensing though, not for Hasbro.
Right.
That's scary though. Like Power Rangers going away. Like, are they in 30 years? Are the Power Rangers fans gonna get all nostalgic and get a bunch of toys launched again?
Oh, probably.
I mean, that's definitely the cycle. I think that if Hasbro steps out of the game, in the manufacturing game, I think that there will be some interesting moves in the small toy company world. that is already kind of blowing up right now.
Yeah.
And has been for a while. But
I'm curious if we're going to find out where a certain line is, and that line is Anthanatos, JsArmory, Mark II Design, Gridiron Studios. We're doing this additive manufacturing, which is per item very time consuming and expensive, but you can do extremely small batches. There's a line somewhere that says once you're going over this number, it becomes more cost effective to get this manufactured overseas and have it tooled and have the molds made. And I mean, we're talking the difference between, I've sold over 1,000 of a couple of things, but most of my stuff is double digits, maybe 100 and something of an item. Where that line is has got to be in the 1,000 plus range somewhere, and Gridiron's got to be getting close to it. I think with some of their stuff, because they're just crushing it.
They feel a lot like Marauder toys way back in the day when they first started, and they went up.
Yes.
They took it up to manufacturing and then figures and all that. It just feels like a natural progression for them just to head that direction.
Yeah.
You know who would be really interesting to have this conversation with at some point is Esteban.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he works for the company that is manufacturing.
Oh, he's working at that factory now?
He worked for them before they opened the toy factory. Like, he worked for that, doing other manufacturing.
He was promoting them hard at Joe Fest.
Yes,
I think the year you had your booth.
It was it was the year I had the booth. You're right. He had like a whole catalog.
Yeah.
And
it's been a lot of wait and see. And I don't know.
I mean, I think Fist was proof of concept for them.
It was, a lot, and that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people were waiting to see how Fist turned out before they sent their business to Columbia.
To that company.
Go ahead.
Fist was the figures. The quality from Fist figures is okay. From a first run, knowing it's a first run, it's definitely good, but it could stand for a little bit of improvement.
Right. I guess
and the only way to improve is with time and experience too.
The thing that gives me hope is this manufacturing center's first time ever doing a figure.
Yes. First time out doing a manufactured figure, they're great. They are.
And for the record, we don't have the technology to do that in the United States.
Correct.
In the States. So this is like Colombia.
So like, I mean, we can sit here and be like, oh, the figures were okay. Like, we can't do it in the US.
Right.
It is such a big deal that they're doing it in this hemisphere of the globe.
Well, and also, I mean, the big hope there is to get rid of some of the transportation costs too.
Oh yeah.
And nowadays tariff costs.
Depending on what happens with all that.
It's like, I did my experiment and I got my couple of weapon sets made, and there was so much. I learned so much from it, but there was so much stuff I was unprepared for. Like, once you get your stuff to the factory, they give you an estimate and they give you a timeline, and they don't hit any of that shit. And then and shipping, it's not you can't you can't FedEx. Like, I mean, there's a lot of FedEx that goes back and forth when they're sending you like test shots and stuff like that. But when it's time to ship pallets of something, like, you have to get a third party to handle that for you, period. And there's all kinds of stuff that goes along with all of that. It's interesting. It's real damn interesting how much time and money balloons, both of those things, in getting things manufactured overseas. I would love to like whisper into Trump's ear, give me a couple million so I can do injection molding in the US.
I think that it's like, what are the labor costs though, or that's always going to be your killer. Labor's still cheap in Colombia, but
sure, but the shipping costs from China are so big. I can't fathom that not offsetting the cost of production a little bit, or not the production, but the labor.
Right.
Like,
well, you're the only one here that's even been close to that
Right. Well, and so it's so weird, man. Like they pay the people working those factories over there pennies.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Chinese labor has increased significantly over the past decade.
Yeah, and you work with you like
We
it's not toys, but you manufacture.
Yeah,
over there,
my work we do out of
Okay.
Taiwan, we do out of China. And one of the other things that most people do not understand about China, and I did not understand this either. Like right now is Chinese New Year.
Yep, they're not working.
Well, they're not working for 2 weeks. When Chinese New Year is over, about 20% of their workforce will not return. So then they have to rebuild up those factories from a labor force from a very skeleton crew. Because what happens is during Chinese New Year, a lot of the people working the factories are from the villages out in the mountains, and they're out, from far away. They come to the city, or they come to the factory cities is probably more correct. They work for 1 or 2 years, and they have made so much money to go back to their home and live comfortably. So they will come, and they've already taken the, planes, trains, and automobiles trip back home, which can be days of travel, and they just stay. They're like, all right, I'm done. I'm happy. I can support my family for the next decade. We're done.
Yeah, and we definitely did manufacturing historically differently here, because you would have generations working in the same manufacturing plant in America.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And now you get laid off every October.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm from where I'm from was a little automotive center in Michigan. Like Saginaw Steering Gear was.
There you go.
Minutes. And there was so many people that employed that whole area.
Yeah.
Like,
factory shuts down and the town dies.
Pretty much.
And the town shuts down pretty much.
Like when I went back and visited, and this is 5-10 years ago. I mean, we lived rural, like 15 minutes from town. And I can tell you, it didn't look like they've repaved those roads in years. It was pretty frightening, honestly.
Yeah, I think the key, like just in talking with this, I think the key to ever being able to bring this type of manufacturing at any level back to the U.S. is going to be automation of the process. If you can automate your process, and same as the auto industry, same as any other big industry, if you can get to the point where you're automating the process and you have fewer laborers actually working, then maybe you could offset that as well.
You're basically hiring maintenance technicians just to make sure the automation system's smoothly.
Exactly. But the big key is no one wants to put that investment in the automation. That's where China wins, because they've got the labor. They can build a cheap factory. And oh my God, if you've ever seen what in China, in some cases, what they consider a factory, like anybody could be making one specific thing in their backyard and it's a factory.
I got so the factory I used, which is the factory Operation Recall is using, which is a factory that Valiverse uses, which is same fact. Like this factory is pumping out half the shit that we have. They were sending me videos of their production process, and I thought they were in a fucking alleyway.
They probably were in a fucking alleyway. That's the way it works over there.
Jeez.
Wherever you have a table space, I guess. Right?
I think I have like a Hollywood version of a toy factory in my head.
You're thinking of Detroit. You're thinking of movies you've seen.
Yeah, you're thinking.
But I also think it's not like one building. It's a sprawl.
Yeah,
and so the one guy that does the test shots for the first time the mold is getting tested, he's over here, and he's in like a lean-to, and there's cars driving by 4 feet away.
Yeah.
Not what you expect. Right?
It's culturally things are very, very, very different. I've just been scrolling through Jason's store and man, this stuff is awesome.
Yeah. Actually, since you're going through the store, I'll reach out to Jason, because I saw a question show up in the chat. Do you have a Strato Viper kit? I saw that came up.
We have the heads. We have one size for the male Joe bodies and also one size for a female body.
Okay.
I have the unmasked female Strato Viper from the cartoon.
Raven.
No, you have that too. Don't you have that too, Jason?
Okay.
Do not.
You don't have. I don't know who that came from. I thought that came from JsArmory, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, because one of the guys in the chat, he's printing a 1/12 Night Raven and has been looking for a crew.
Jeez, that thing's gonna be.
Oh yeah,
it's big.
Oh yeah,
massive.
it's about 3-4 feet. Yep.
Massive.
Oh man,
I did see something come up too about the modular things. I just wanted to chime in on that. I know Raging Spoon did like a modular setup on a Kickstarter. It was 3 3/4 stuff, but I mean, I think he did it far before Gridiron or Hasbro pulled it. You guys know Raging Spoon at all?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes out to
Yeah, I know.
assembly required.
Personally, I met him at Joe Collins.
He did like the modular fort type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I think he kickstarted it too. I think he did 2 different sets of it, but they were pretty neat.
Interesting.
No, yeah. Every time I see him set up, it makes me want to buy 4-inch figures.
Yeah, it's from him from like 10 years ago that I never put together.
Yeah, he's all molding and casting and doesn't do his design stuff. He licenses his stuff out and gets stuff and then makes molds and casts. And
I know
he's real damn good at it too.
ZBrush a little bit because I know he did his bat head in that. I think he did.
Like he did it.
Viper. Yeah, he did it.
Nice.
Yeah, I also try and make it clear. I am not a sculptor. I am a designer. I put things together like Legos more than I build things from scratch. So I 100% props to people like all you guys on here that aren't me, that do a lot of building from scratch. That's pretty amazing.
I am going to order this as soon as I remember to do it.
Gotta have it.
That's not even popped in my head. And it's like
there's an ash head. I also have a chainsaw that it's a bat attachment, but because it's a bat attachment, it fits on like Spirit or Duke's arm.
You sculpted that, right? Didn't you, Jason? The ash head?
The ash head, yeah. I got like a model of it from someone, and I went over it hardcore, so it's probably unique.
Yeah, it is. Because I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I'm like, no, you just need to go to here. Because this guy's got the best one I've seen. It has a lot of personality.
Yeah, a little cartoony in areas, but I kind of like that little flash. It comes out well on this.
Well, I mean, the movies were a little cartoony in areas.
Or are you talking about the ash head or this?
Yeah, it's in the suggested there. It's the third one down, Mark. If you see it on the side panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much personality, right?
Oh man, if chins could kill, right?
If chins could kill.
Yes. Thank you. I read something on him just recently where he hates Lord of the Rings. Because when he was working
I saw he was at a show and someone asked him a question about it.
Yes, because he was filming Briscoe County Jr. and Lord of the Rings took all the horses where they were filming and they got like some like
a nag
throwaway horse. And he's like, I'll never watch those movies and I hate them.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I teach the main thing I've been teaching for the last 8 years has been filmmaking. I also teach podcasting. But his If Chins Could Kill autobiography was a huge influence for me when I was just out of high school, because they made the first Evil Dead with nothing.
Yeah.
Backwoods, Michigan.
Yep, really inspirational story. So I have a fond place in my heart for Bruce Campbell. Plus, I loved Briscoe County Jr. when I was a kid. So
I hate that show didn't catch.
I know. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that show so much. It had
good.
So much going for it.
Yeah, it had a lot of those like Whedon vibes that didn't come to like years and years later.
Yeah. I want to say it might have been Dan Larson. Somebody did a like a little web episode about it, and it was really good. It might have been Dan.
I think it was. I think I remember seeing that. I haven't watched it, but I think I remember seeing it come across my social media.
Yeah, it was good. It was I really like the stuff he and Greg do. Like everything's just like very well thought out.
Yeah. Very professional. He's good at what he does.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he
they're doing well for a reason, for sure.
Oh yeah, and like so I've approached him several times about ads. He doesn't even have space.
Yeah, I when I had my weapon sets coming out, I talked to him. He was like, dude, I don't have.
When I talked to him at Joe Fest,
before...
like 2024 was gone. Like no 2024 and half of 2025 already filled up. So good for him though. You know, he's doing good work. But
and he's nice. Like I'm sure he follows you guys and will hits like and share stuff, right?
Oh yeah, and Robo's really been nice to me as well.
Robo's great.
Yeah.
So I didn't know who Robo was. I remember there was a day early on where I was packing up orders, and I just wanted to get done so I could get it to the post office and like relax. And it was like every time I would pack something, 2 orders would come in. I'm like, that's fucking weird. And I do those, and now I've got 4 more to do. And like it happened, and it was like for an hour. And
it's because you were on Robo.
It was because Robo had got some stuff and did like those Friday play days.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't complain. But god damn it, I just want to be done for today.
Yeah. He's a big suicide. He's a big Secret Six. So he likes the Secret Six comic book series from DC.
Mm-hmm.
And Deadshot was one of those members. So and I had a Deadshot head that I had commissioned from JsArmory in 3D, and it had kind of languished a little bit. But then I, like on a whim, I was like, I'm just gonna make some cool armor for him. I had some wrist guns. I'm like, I'm gonna make some armor. I'm gonna make up some shoulder pads, and I sent that kit to Robo, and man, it has been an evergreen item in my store ever since then. So nice. These guys have a lot of influence in the community.
And it's like if they didn't like it, they just wouldn't.
It just wouldn't be there.
They just wouldn't show it.
Exactly.
So it's a nice, honest way of promoting some little guys like us. So, yeah. Cool. Do we got a couple people watching? Does anybody have some specific questions in the they want to put in the chat that we can try and address? That'd be great.
While you're doing that, I'm going to show you so this is another one of those like little things. Nice. I'm trying to upgrade, the Baroness. I'm going to do a run of the Vector that she uses in the Skybound comics, and a Flex Resin Star that you can put on.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can put on the. This is just the movie Scarlet. So you can make a Skybound Baroness.
That works good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy too, because you only really need 2 parts. You probably got Baroness parts laying around. This figure body's like, $5 or whatever on clearance everywhere.
Yeah.
So
you trip over those things.
Yep.
Cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I understand automation bringing the price down, but I like the idea of people having jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't. That's a weird one.
Yeah,
that's a real weird one.
Well, my dad worked at a protein processing plant that they would like take. It was gross. They used to call it Guts R Us, but they would make feed out of it, right? It was all like the leftover parts from chicken factories and all this stuff. And most of that was automated, but he had a whole crew. He was in charge of maintenance for the whole facility, and he had a whole crew that would do the maintenance. It's not the numbers, but that was a job that a bunch of guys retired from, including him, which is kind of rare these days to have a job that you can reliably retire from and keep for 30 years. So I don't know what the answer there is, but I agree with you, Mark. You do want people to have good, reliable, long-term jobs.
And I think it's. I don't like the term livable wage because it just sounds like a buzz term. But like, minimum wage sucks. Like
minimum anything is pretty terrible.
Yeah, like.
Minimum wage.
But it's I mean, like if I had one damn employee that worked for minimum wage. 40 hours a week, I couldn't afford it. Period.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, but not right now.
Yeah,
for sure. So
an interesting question was just raised in the chat. Do you think we could get back to labor jobs, or are we just lazy, get rich fast type of society? I think we could get back to labor jobs.
I don't know if you can really blame that on society either.
Yeah.
I think you blame that on the businesses.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
Their customers aren't the customers; their shareholders are.
Yeah.
That's the business mentality right now, and I don't know that it's just us. I think that's kind of worldwide.
Yeah, and the big problem is that it comes down to the labor cost. Especially cost of labor in America. A company would not. Well, here's the biggest problem. You could build everything in America if you wanted to. You could. There's absolutely no reason that Apple is not building the cell phone, the iPhone in America, but the consumers are not going to want to pay $1,800 for it. And that's the price you would have to pay for the end product if the labor was done in America, because it's become the mindset of how low cost it is because we're getting it from China, you're getting it from overseas. That's actually where the tariffs will help, because the tariffs will raise the price of incoming goods to match the expectation of what it would take to build it in America. And at some point, the companies will reach the point where it's like, we could sell it for less and make our customers buy more if we built it locally rather than overseas and shipping. All the same points that we were just discussing. Yep. The problem is tariffs are a scary thing because you're going to have very high increases short term. But
and the the scary thing about that, democracies, and I'm a pro-democracy guy, but democracies are bad at long-term anything.
True.
Because you get tired of it and you get somebody else in.
You want to change.
Yeah. You can't win long-term wars. That's. I mean, I have a history degree. I used to teach history. That's something that you learn is democracies aren't good at long-term anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So the time that it takes for tariffs to shift manufacturing, I don't know that we have the wherewithal.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff that's going to shock the system just moving forward.
Well, just as someone that served in the military, like, we've gone to a lot of countries overseas with good intent, and like you can go back and forth about like what the government's intent was, or whoever was in charge at the time's intent was, and how they plan to get rich off of it. But I can speak from experience that there's places we go that are fucking awful, and that we provide stability while we're there.
Yep.
But then we just leave. And that breaks my goddamn heart.
Yeah,
for sure.
So this comment that just popped up about small company, I think that maybe that's something that I have some hope in. Like when I see things like Fresh Monkey Fiction out there doing their thing, and Valaverse doing their thing, like maybe boutique smaller companies that are more agile, because they can respond faster, right? Turning a company like Hasbro around is a monumental feat, but turning a small company around,
they're getting smaller and smaller.
And that's
true. That's true too. But right. Like a smaller, more agile company can maybe, maybe we can shift manufacturing to South America. Maybe it doesn't come back to America immediately,
right.
but that's I think that I don't think it's necessarily all gloom and doom, I guess is what my point is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But what's interesting is we're talking about small companies, and we were just talking about the gridiron version of the DPV.
And it being too expensive.
They just did. And what's the number one complaint everyone's saying about gridiron?
It's too expensive. Yeah.
For what they're doing, $200 is not bad. I mean, Hasbro's going to release theirs for $100 with a figure.
Yeah.
And
it kind of comes back to volume too, though.
Yeah. It comes back to volume. It comes back to, all these different factors. But when you look at it, and the number one complaint about gridiron is that looks great, but I'm not going to spend $200 for it. It's the
Well, but those opinions might shift when we are truly, like, if the toy collecting community became a truly boutique setup.
Well, yeah. Well, the boutique people are the ones that are going to buy the Gridiron one. They are not the, they are not the ones that are even looking at buying something like that just to sit it on a shelf.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, there is definitely another factor here, in that Gridiron is not a toy. You're not going to hand that to a 6-year-old and let them play with it. Whereas Hasbro is making toys. There is certification that they have to do. There's a liability that they have.
A liability.
So there is definitely a difference there as well, as far as what the intention is.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll defend Gridiron on the price thing, man. Like,
I'll defend them too.
I wouldn't want to be doing.
Well, it's a finished product, and if it's like Jason was saying earlier, customers want that, and you get it, you snap it together, and it's ready to play with. Whereas like the stuff, I mean, I've got a little dog drone that's awesome, but like you got to paint it. You got to detail it.
Black Genghis, do we know the cost of the Striker?
I don't think it's been listed. I think everyone's assuming it's going to come in at the same vamp price at $100, but it has not been announced as far as I know.
It's not officially. Everybody's pretty much assuming it'll be right around the vamp.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Vamp started its production years ago, and its numbers were based off of pricing at that time of a couple years ago. Plus, they knew that they were going to be able to make a Stinger. It will not surprise me when they release a Dreadnought version. And they
can't wait.
So, so they knew the long term with that, how much value they would get out of that tooling.
Right, but so he's saying that the Striker should be a little bit cheaper because it's not exactly as much.
When did we get the Vamp? Was it just last year? Or
I think it was
2 years ago, wasn't it? Because they've already
has inflation kind of in that year.
Yeah, it's been going up. That's why I think I'd love to see an $80 price on the Striker. I just don't think it's going to happen. Shoot, they couldn't make that. How much is the Trench Viper? And that's just a figure in like 10 cents worth of plastic.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Like when I first started seeing these announcements for figures, there's no basic fucking figures.
No.
And like just giving a couple of extra accessories to something, charging an extra $10 for it, we would have to do that.
Yeah.
But they're just cranking them out of the factory for pennies.
Yeah,
for sure. They're definitely priced. But I buy them anyways. So
yeah. No, they got us right. They got us.
Oh yeah. G.I. Joe, they lost me on Marvel Legends and Star Wars. Cut back on almost everything else, but G.I. Joe is so good.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There's still a lot of solid Marvel Legends stuff that comes out, but I don't get whole waves like I used to.
Yeah. There had been a question earlier if anyone's going to be at MegaCon in Orlando next weekend. I know I'm not.
I won't be.
Yeah, I will.
Jason, do you do shows? Do you go set up shows?
Just local stuff. Well, we have Stockton Con, basically Valentine's Day weekend. It's kind of mid-central California's one, but that's about as big as I do. I've gone to them. It's more fun to go to the bigger ones, I think.
It's way more fun.
Way more fun.
Yeah, Comic-Con used to be a staple every year, but since COVID, I haven't gone.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Sacramento area.
Oh, okay. All right, nice. Yeah. Okay.
I want to do cons, like Southeast cons, but I haven't figured them out yet. Like
Southeast?
I just haven't figured out how to do a con booth yet. Because I liked the presentation of my booth at JoeFest.
You had a great presentation.
Yeah, it was really good.
And we spent money. We spent a lot of money on it, thinking it would be, this is like evergreen. And I got a ton of business after JoeFest.
Yep.
a ton, like a ton.
Yeah.
It was really when I think
people are spun
I
up
made it
for a month or two after Joe Fest.
Yes, yeah.
It,
So
it gets people excited.
I just didn't sell a lot there, and I don't know what, because I'm a print on demand. I've been doing this for so long in this way. I don't know what to, because I printed my most popular items, obviously.
I really liked at your booth that year, you had a bunch of like Green Lantern stuff, and you had printed stuff in the translucent green.
Yeah,
I thought that was so clever.
Yeah,
I thought that was so awesome.
Yeah, I haven't done that in a couple years, but that's what I'd always put on eBay.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, we've got a Guy Gardner coming in a movie, so
yeah, I know it may be time to order some green resin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't quite figured out cons yet, but it's something that I've thought about.
And so for us, because we have, and my catalog is nothing compared to you guys, but like I have more stuff than I can figure out how to fit on the table in an attractive way.
Yeah.
Because they got to be able to see the product, and I think for me, I want them to be able to touch the product.
Yeah.
And
so we had that magnet board.
Yep.
That had a bunch of the singles you could buy that were just magnetized to it, so you could actually get your hands on it and feel it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's like when you come to my store, and I know people don't buy from me sometimes because they're overwhelmed with choice. They like put $300 worth of cut stuff in their cart and they just walk away. They're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pull the trigger. There's too many options. So I haven't figured out, I guess, what that middle ground is of like what to offer.
I like this comment. So what is it? Sir Nightheart says, isn't G.I. Joe collecting kind of a boutique in niche now? Really, because they're not re-releasing anything. So if you miss it, you miss it.
The only thing that makes it not boutique is they're still jumping through all the hoops of a toy business for kids.
Exactly.
So so that's like we Hasbro prevents us, and Mattel to a lesser degree, but Jazzwares maybe, but they prevent us from really getting accustomed to what this stuff would cost if it was truly a boutique collectible industry. Because I mean, look at the price of your average NECA figure. Like that's where G.I. Joes would be if they weren't also producing in such mass for kids. But I mean, percentages on the kids that are buying the figures we buy has got to be tiny.
It's very low. It's very
like
low.
Genghis is saying though, they needed brick and mortar. Like my Targets and Walmarts barely have anything. You'll walk in and it's just bare. It's
you're never gonna get kids into it. But you guys are probably like me. The reason why you got into G.I. Joe, because I didn't have the 12-inch guys, because I could talk my grandparents into spending $3 to $5 for a G.I. Joe or a He-Man every time we went to the store.
Yeah,
exactly.
You could,
exactly.
I could find enough change in my couch.
Right. Yeah.
To walk my ass 2 blocks to downtown and get one at the local toy store.
Yeah.
As a kid, we would go into Frankenmuth. It was a tourist trap. We'd ride our bikes into town and collect 10-cent cans. We'd go to the arcade and buy G.I. Joes.
Nice.
Yeah, and
we'd end up with $20 between two of us.
The wall of figures.
I'm so happy.
Artwann, say that again.
I'm just so happy he's from Michigan. Like everything he's talking about,
really resonating. That Midwest is resonating right now.
Right.
I miss Michigan a bit.
Yep.
Definitely.
I'm on the West Coast with you now, so
the weather. I could drive 2 hours to the ocean, 2 hours to the mountains, 2 hours to wine country. It's beautiful here for sure.
Yeah.
Expensive though. Yeah.
Yep.
I can drive 45 minutes to the mountains, or I can drive for a day and a half with nothing but flat.
Open,
no trees.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I lived in Omaha too, so I know
that haul through Nebraska is rough. I've made that several times in my life.
Yeah.
It's a rough haul.
There's nothing to stop the wind. The wind is amazing.
Cornfields and occasionally an overpass.
One billboard, 100 miles.
Yeah, I like the comment too from Black Angus about green shirts and troopers, like basic stuff, just like they did with the Star Wars on Hasbro Pulse. They're still plain boxes. Star Wars.
Yeah, no frills. Like I just want the figure inside. Like
no guns.
Yeah,
we got enough guns.
Hey, no guns needed. We've got them covered.
No head, no guns. Just
no
figure body.
Just
no
the
guns,
body.
No secondaries. None of that. Just a torso, a pelvis, and some legs.
I think the big problem with Hasbro is they're starting to hit that demand. They're starting to do the very basic figure, but they're double packing them.
Yeah.
So your spend becomes $70 for, because didn't they announce a green shirt? I think they finally announced
well, it's supposed to be like a retro.
Was it announced? Was it really announced?
For some reason, I thought I saw it pop up.
I saw something that said this is possibly a green shirt, just regular figure, but Hasbro.
I consume I watch everyone's videos, and I'm struggling to remember where I heard that one.
I'm curious to see what the Retro Viper does, because I'm not sure that the Viper 3-pack was a success or not.
I mean, it ended up at Ross. I saw pictures of people buying it, Ross. I got several sets from Amazon just on ridiculous sales, just cutting it to the bone.
Yeah.
Like $40-$50. I mean, they didn't last long because it was like a prime deal or whatever. But but like that to me is like it's a little like.
So that's another one where it's three repaints of the same figure.
Mm-hmm.
And they added a bunch of shitty weapons that no one wanted.
Yep.
And the cost of that wasn't the cost of 3 figures. It was the cost of 3 figures and a little bit more. So I don't think it did great. And no one wanted the gray one.
Yeah. 2 of them weren't even repaints. They were just the standard Viper. Like the gold-faced Viper Commander.
All that said, I think I think it was long enough ago that I think the retro will scratch an itch that some people do have for what they wanted out of the gate, because they are.
Yeah,
I think they redid the secondary. I think it's the same damn gun though. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll do well.
Yeah, because I think the single pack Cobra Trooper, retro Cobra Trooper, that's been doing. I mean, that's been selling out pretty consistently.
I was really surprised. I because we've got like 3 of those already. Mm-hmm. But the retro one's just like, I like the blue. It's just like it pops more.
I will tell you though that what you need to do though is you need to get some custom web gear, some better web gear from Anthanatos Unlimited.com with like a Cobra symbol and a grenade and a knife
and a Megatron rifle
and a Megatron cannon wouldn't hurt. I mean, it couldn't possibly hurt, right? Yeah. Unless you're an Autobot, it couldn't possibly hurt.
Unless you read Skybound, then it would be just fine too, right?
Oh, that's true. Spoiler alert.
A little bit.
That's on the cover, so they like.
So one thing I thought was weird. Like I have a Pulse membership, so I pre-ordered at least one of everything, right? And that's kind of it. I sort of assumed everyone was doing that, but it's not the case. I think the vast number of people don't want to give Hasbro the $50 for the free shipping. Or whatever their reason is, they don't want to do that.
Yeah, I do not do Pulse. Yeah,
just the Comic-Con experience with Pulse, and even not going to Comic-Con, because there's benefits you get to going to see them in person, like you get on the list for preview night or whatever to buy stuff. But just the free shipping and just for the exclusives makes it worth it to me.
Yeah.
Like sort of, you could, in theory, you were supposed to be able to like an hour before it's open to everyone, you can pre-order your shit, but I feel like that's never worked out for me.
It hasn't worked out for me the last few exclusive releases, but for a while it did. Yeah, it's not so good.
The app is the devil.
Don't
they made that change.
I always use the website.
Yeah,
always.
I've had an issue. I don't check. Like, you know how, like, I've got one email that's like my personal private email that I unfortunately have used to log into all these different websites, and everyone has sold my data so many times over. Like, I don't look at my email because it's just thousands of bullshit things coming in. So I've had like a card I pre-ordered something with, like expired, and I got the new card, but I didn't go back in and like click on each individual pre-order for going back months to change and update the card. So I get like a oops, something happened email that, you know, I don't realize I have until like, you know, why has everybody got their, you know, their retro beachhead figure but me? And then oh, it's because they canceled it because I didn't update the card.
Yeah, that's like the Target nightmare for me. That happens all the time with Target.
I got blocked from Target from buying because I had to change my card, and there were so many pre-orders during COVID. So I had to change that, and then I moved and had to change my address. And with all those changes, they flagged me as something. I don't know if it was the change or now I'm buying too many collectibles. I'm like, are you serious? And they would not listen.
You're giving us too much money. You've got to stop giving us money.
Oh, Jason can shop with us in store. Like I couldn't even buy garbage bags for pickup. Like they blocked me. Like they just canceled the reorder.
That's insane.
That blew my mind. I'm like, they wouldn't even listen to why it happened. I'm like, you guys are killing me.
I don't feel the need to have to tell you it's okay if my item is delayed by a week.
That
like
was
if
crazy. That
like,
was pissing me off.
You know, if it's delayed by a year, give me a heads up. I may cancel it. But like, if I have to within 24 or 48 hours click on a button to tell you to send it, that's ridiculous. I don't understand the logic there. Just
you know, need all those emails.
Right. It's also these big box stores, like returns just aren't an issue.
Yeah.
Like if I get it by accident and I don't want it, I'll take it back. It's okay, you know, like. So I don't know why I needed to do all those updates. I forget which it might have been some Cobra Island stuff or Tiger Force stuff that was doing that.
Oh yeah, like pre-orders. Does it still happen where like the Target will just like not put the stuff on the shelf?
Oh yeah,
they're still doing that crap.
Oh yeah.
Well, they have a shelf date, but it's like what that means is they do a reset, and the reset could happen anywhere between the month, a week, or 2 weeks before, or even after for that shelf space. So, and the trouble with that is they'll keep the stuff on a reset pallet, which won't have a backroom location. If you can find a backroom location when they scan, you're good. But if it's on a pallet, just loads of pallets for toys, it's a lot to ask them to go through it.
But I mean, that's a great point though about the, you know, because a lot of people like the thrill of the hunt, but I don't even do that anymore. I'm just over it. Everything's online. Everything's pre-ordered.
It's not the thrill of the hunt. It's the disappointment of the walk by.
But they like the if it were there, but it's not there. It's not on the shelf.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I'd like to see the stuff, and I bought stuff on the shelf because it was there. Because I'm fucking stupid.
Yeah, but, I don't even Iron Grenadier at this time at the shelf, so that'll always come home with me.
Yeah, for me, classified is I rarely buy it in the store, but you know, unless it's like the clearance super cheap kind of thing. But I just want my Ramar figure from Super 7. I can't tell you how many times I've run into Target just looking for that, and there's an army of Serpentors staring at me, and I'm like, fuck.
I can't even find Serpentor, man.
Oh really?
Oh yeah,
I think they're casing them in such unusual quantities that they're going to have a glut of Serpentors, and they're never going to reorder from Super 7 to get those Ramars and, you know, Fatal Fluffies out of the case. And you can't buy it online either. It's Target only, and you can't buy it online.
You can't like Target. You can't buy it at Target.
No, they say only available.
No, not even on Target online.
There are a lot less. There are a lot less action figures and collectibles on the Target online than there used to be. Wow. And that's from my experience, because I used to check it semi-regularly, and now I check it, and there is nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you just opened a can of worms, dude. I've got one Target in 100 miles, and bro.
Before I forget, so last weekend I went to Winterfest in Kentucky, and just a quick review of that show. So that show, it's like vendor only. There was no panels, no guests, no custom contests, like none of that nonsense. Not that it's nonsense. I love that shit, but there was none of that. Just vendors, and it was a real interesting mix of 12-inch, 4-inch, 3 3/4. almost an even split. And mostly Joe, but yeah, there's some Transformer stuff and some He-Man stuff and that stuff sprinkled in. But good show. Like like if you're trying to complete your collection and you need a devilfish, good show for going to that stuff. So mine
or $1 Scorpion.
$1 Scorpion.
All the good shows are back east for Joe.
Yeah, it's weird. Like there's a part of me that would really like to get a G.I. Joe show going, even just a little teeny tiny one, something going here in like the Denver area. We've got Denver, we've got Boulder, we've got Colorado Springs to the south. I don't know that I can make enough people show up. Like I don't know what it would take if I got like Larry Hama and Ron Rudat to show up, would that pull some people out of the woodworks and make something viable? But if I did just a vendor based show, I don't know I could get people to show up.
I would say if you look into some that are already being run there.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And talk to them and see if you can partner.
I'm friendly. Oh, like shows that are already happening. We've got one show that happens in like the spring and the fall. It's called Retromania. I would need to differentiate myself from them for sure. Otherwise, it's just the same damn show. Right?
Another Retromania.
Yeah,
3 times. Yeah, 3 shows.
So,
could be the ultimate Retromania.
All you got to do is slap Ultimate. Maximum,
I see what you did there.
You do maximum.
Yeah, if I'm able, I gotta wait till next year. I've got my big business mistake was I got into this lease at this warehouse, and I think Artwann and Mike are probably tired of hearing me complain about this, but I got into this lease, and it's fucking killing me. It's horrible. So that's up in July, and once that's over, things kind of lighten up for me a bit, and I'll start seriously pursuing something.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, JoeCon was, and it was. I don't know that it was Denver. I think it was.
It was north. It was north.
Yeah, it was north of Denver.
I can't remember where. I was there, but I don't remember.
Oh, you went. Yeah, I can't believe I can't think of the name of this town. I've been there. Doesn't matter. But yeah, the JoeCon when it traveled went through there once.
I'm surprised there's not a Joe themed convention every month in California, because so many of my customers are from California.
A lot of customers from California. A lot.
There's a lot of toy shows, but nothing really Joe.
Like specifics.
Yeah. But the point I was kind of trying to get to is like my favorite damn show, period, is Assembly Required in Iowa. And it's just like there's no popular. You've got one big city and like that's it. Everyone that's what's that?
People fly there for it.
Yeah, like I flew there for it. Like it's but like on the East Coast, it's just populous. On the West Coast, you've got population. Like there's enough people to grab and pull to the show to make it really viable. But if you're in the center of the country, it's just not dense enough to support these shows. I think not in the big like Joe Fest kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Loveland, that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was in Loveland. Okay.
Yep. Thank you for the comments.
Yeah, which is funny because when you're at these big Joe shows and you talk to the vendors, the ones that have tons and tons of stuff, you find out that they're all from the Midwest.
They're from Ohio.
Yep. Kansas. And we asked them.
But it's east of the Mississippi by a lot.
Yeah. Ohio. No, Ohio is really big for the big toy ones as well. And what was funny is we asked one of the big vendors, and we said, why? We noticed that you're all from the Midwest. Why is that? And the guy had a very good explanation. Basements.
Yep.
You had houses with huge basements, so when the kids had their toys, they didn't have to get rid of them. They didn't have to downsize, so the parents kept them in their basements, and they didn't have, the kids didn't get rid of their toys. They just got boxed up and put in the basement. So now there's like these treasure troves out there.
I think you also had Kenner out there.
The Kenner thing was big too. I think the Kenner kind of put because that's why we thought, we were like, oh, are you all Midwest because of Kenner? And they were like, yeah, there's some of that, but no, not really. It was just because the toys didn't get thrown away or, yard saled or anything else because they had space.
Right. East Coast not have basements?
We have basements, but not to the extent like they did, not to the space extent that they have in like the Midwest.
Yeah, California, we don't have them.
Right. Yeah, my home, I still have a house back in Michigan, and my basement is the entire footprint of the house.
Yes.
So if you look at a map, like Ohio to me is on the East Coast. I realize it's not on the beach, but it's very east. It's not in the middle.
I know Midwest is a strange name for
it's a weird term.
Yeah.
But like if I were to try to get a show here, I would need some like Joe vendors to do a Joe show, right? Destro's Toy Den, Roma, any of those guys that are staples at these shows.
Yep.
And like those dudes would have to drive their trailers 3 days to get here.
Yeah.
Like, and like now this show has to be profitable for them, worth it to do a week, because it's you're traveling 3 days each way. You've got the show in the middle. It's a week and change possibly commitment for any of them to show up. Like that makes it real damn hard.
Yeah, and it's such a roll of the dice too. Like I said, I broke even when I did Joe Fest, and then the aftermath was very lucrative, but it's a gamble. You might not sell anything, or that's not the vibe this year. The vibe that year isn't like 3D printed accessories. It's like digging through vintage bins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The first year I went, I think I was the only one doing it, certainly at that show. And I did real well. I was floored. The next year I didn't do as well. But then there were some more folks there like yourself. And it's sort of, it's kind of, there's more folks doing it. The demand has gone down.
I think a lot of people that got early in on classified have just, it's run their course for them, and
for a lot of folks,
customizers and everything else. They're just, it was a neat thing. It was a COVID thing. I think.
Oh, it was definitely a COVID thing for a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, people are moving along, and, specifically with classified, Hasbro is listening, and they're giving people.
They're doing a lot better.
They want, especially with the retro. The fact that they have the retro carded, except for the heel and the snow, the eel and the snow serpent, which were, they dropped the ball on the 1 yard line there. But for the most part, they are going back and they're retooling things that match what people expect them to be.
Okay, I would have accounted to that. You got COVID. You had people were at home. They had not a lot to do. So
the economy was actually doing pretty well.
The economy was booming, and you had nothing to do. So customizing, I think, was just
a hobby
to get into.
Yeah,
now people are kind of back. The money is depleted. People are just working. Things like that.
Inflation has hit.
Inflation has hit. So hobbying has taken a hit. That's going to be the first thing that takes a hit.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Right after DoorDash for me. DoorDash was first to go.
Yeah. The golden days of having everything delivered are over.
You don't have like a plethora of kids you're feeding with that either, though, right?
No, not anymore. We have a 15-year-old, and that's it.
Yeah. If I were to DoorDash a meal with my family.
Yeah, you go to McDonald's and spend $50.
It'd be like more than a car payment. Like it'd be insane.
So more than a car payment. But you're dead on. McDonald's, there used to be $1 menu. What happened?
No. You can still we can there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us in this house. We can eat at Wendy's for $23. That's about the cheapest.
You get like you get in the biggie bag or whatever.
The biggie bag, we get the biggie bags. As long as nobody's upsizing or doing anything crazy, we can keep it right at $20. But.
Wow.
And how did we get on Wendy's?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
That's somebody brought up the $1 menu.
What's crazy is this is the stuff that'll happen in the green room before we even start.
Yeah, we're
And-
way off topic.
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
We were, for 15, 20 minutes, we were an economics podcast.
right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking McDonald's versus Wendy's, it's kind of
I mean, I can't get away from McDonald's fries if I had to choose one. So
Oh, boy.
my vote. I don't know.
So,
how they're gonna-
I guess the thing that does give me some hope is that I've been noticing lately, like a lot of people are getting on the classified train. Like there's
Yeah,
a lot of
true.
people that are jumping on. Like I've Reddit mostly is where I see a lot of people like, hey, I just started collecting last month. Here's where I'm at now. Like this little like
Yikes.
collection update stuff. Which is
That'd be awful. I'm so
Yeah.
like I've had just because of my career, my head was just in the sand for a long time. I wasn't in any of the Joe groups. I didn't know they existed. I am so glad I looked up in time to find out classified was coming.
Dude, I saw there was a Walmart end cap in the podunk town that I grew up in. Had the whole wave, and I didn't even know they existed. I was out of toy collecting for the most part. I was
Oh,
like,
man.
I did Legos. Like after I got a divorce, Lego was like my zen place.
Yeah.
I would put together Legos, and just like the problems of the world would fall away,
Yeah.
But like I just went through the toy aisle and saw those classifieds, and I was like, oh gosh. And then I got back into Marvel Legends, and then it's like kicked my addiction back in, I guess.
I was out. I completely missed the Snake Eyes, the 0-0. But
Yeah, missed that.
somehow I heard about classifieds coming, and started hitting all the Walmarts near me and everything. And one day I walked in, they had like everything. They had at least one of everything. I grabbed one of everything, and I never saw them again.
Yeah.
And it was months before. It was like
First wave
6 or
was
7
rough.
months before I saw
Right.
another classified in a store.
Yep.
Wow.
It was definitely over what would you call that, performed for a release than what they expected. I had heard a early on rumor that they didn't expect it to go on past like the third wave or something.
really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here we are.
And especially the fact that it was based off of that terrible video game. So you get these weird
So
versions.
we didn't get sci-fi from it.
Yeah, that's true. Sci-fi was in the game, and we never got to figure it out.
But I think he's
Is
on
that-
the list. He's on the list. He's coming.
That's why
I
he
hope
was
he's-
in all the. I didn't put that together, but that's why he was in all that early promo.
Yeah,
like,
on the back
Yeah.
of the packaging, he's on there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he was on the website as like coming soon. It's like had the action splash with
Okay.
sci-fi, and I was like, why sci-fi? Like why are we? And then it's been however many years, and they're finally saying he's coming out. I didn't know it was the video game.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't
like
remember
all
if it
that
was
weird
Playboy or-
that
The communicator, the light
or whatever it
communicator
is.
thing,
It's
yeah.
like it's always got like a little blue flat piece. Like that's
I
all.
I
I'm
call
in the,
it
if
the-
I'm in the dark. I
Okay.
want people to see that lit up.
the G.I.JOE RPG book. It doesn't say that that's it specifically, but it talks about this advice called the HTB,
Okay.
half the battle.
Oh.
But
Okay.
it's like
Because it's knowing.
it's the all-purpose communicator device. So in my store description, sometimes I call it the HTB because that's what the RPG source book calls it.
Okay.
I like it.
I dig it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, good info.
I just learned something.
That
Knowing is half the battle.
I've never played it, but they if you like the lore and some of like the sci-fi military stuff, that RPG source book stuff is pretty good. Pretty well.
Most of the and I haven't had a chance to play them yet. But yeah, most of the tabletop games and the card games and stuff, I'm hearing they're really good.
Yeah.
I'm hearing like there's people that aren't into G.I.JOE that enjoy those games. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the
cool.
system's pretty good. It's not like a direct ripoff of D&D 5e or whatever. It's kind of its own deal. Renegade Studios is the one that did it. Yeah, and you can get a lot of the PDFs for dirt cheap.
I got the Axis and Allies game.
Yeah, that was fun. I liked that game.
I liked Axis and Allies. I got it because I like painting the damn minis. Not that I've done that in years, but
Right.
I
Okay.
keep saying that I'm going to.
Now, and those are minis. Those are
They're
mini minis.
real tiny, and they're not. I'm pretty disappointed by the game pieces that came with that.
Well,
Yeah.
And like like if I was just a casual tabletop game person, I probably wouldn't care. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I do what I do, and it's like when I get something licensed and whatever, like I want to look at it and be like, and not just have the feeling I could do way better than that.
Oh, so there's this great tabletop game called The House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's like random scenarios, and you never know which one of like this. It's basically like a Scooby Gang. As a matter of fact, there's a Scooby Doo version now, but when it first came out, there wasn't. But you're just like this group of teenagers, and you're investigating this house, right? And one of you eventually becomes either the controller of the monster or possessed by the monster. So it starts cooperative, and then one of you flips. But the miniatures for that were so god awful. Like the first thing I did when I got the game was like, well, gotta find some STL files and print my own.
Go to Hero Forge.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you can make a real great character on Hero Forge for that game.
Hero Forge is awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, I haven't played any of the Renegade games, but I'm probably gonna. I keep telling myself I'm not gonna buy another big box game, but they have started promoting a new big box game, not from Renegade. That's a miniature-based game for G.I. Joe,
and it's Hasbro, right? Like you're talking about that
it's
one?
licensed by Hasbro, but it's another company that no one's heard of before. But it looked really good. It's going to do a Kickstarter type thing on GameFound, and if they can make the figures like the model show, it's going to be really impressive. The models themselves look great.
Like you saw actual pictures of the piece or renders?
There have been renders of it so far. It's called Operation Cobra.
Huh.
That's another problem with my head being where it is with the design and everything now, is I look at renders and I can be like, there's no fucking way.
Lies. These are all lies.
Like I'm looking at a bunch of undercuts. I'm like, there's no way to do that in even a 3 or 4 part mold. That's too damn thin. This is that. Like,
it's like I tell my kids when they get into my magnet program, I'm like, okay, guys, I got a harsh truth for you. I'm gonna ruin movies for you, because when you know how they're made, like you can't watch them any other way. You know, you watch them as a like how did all this come together? You're always looking behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that when it comes to toy collecting, because I'm much smaller scale, but what goes into all the complications of like, this is what I want it to look like, but is that achievable?
Yeah. So like Sir Nightheart, yeah, I've got that Axis and Allies game. I have one son who I thought was going to be into it because he's into World War II and strategy and stuff. No, nothing. I got nothing. My best chance is not to plug it again like a knucklehead, but like assembly required in the fall. Like they will have the center of that whole thing with a bunch of tables. Mm-hmm. There's a local game store that comes out and will teach you how to play all these different games. That's my best shot if I want to play any of this stuff.
Yeah, that before Dragon Con got crazy like it is now, that was always my favorite floor to visit, because there was like a whole floor that was just people learning how to play.
Has anyone heard of / been to Adepticon out of I'll say Chicago? It's kind of right outside of Chicago when they do it.
I've heard of it, but I've never been.
Adepticon is awesome.
That's the gaming, right? That's their primary
I would
focus.
say yes.
Yeah,
it's gaming, but and I haven't been to Gen Con since it was real small.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine that's the same way too. Like, yeah, like there's part of me that wishes I had someone to kind of play some of these games with, but I don't honestly have time.
That's the time thing, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Like
I'd be the guy disappointing everyone else because I can't make it again.
Yeah.
We
that was also
a Kickstarter game not too long ago for Dark Tower. Have you guys heard of the original, like way back?
Yep.
We need games like that because an app runs the rules.
Yeah.
Literally, it does it for you. Because one of the biggest issues I find with these games is someone needs to sit down and actually figure out how everything works before you can actually play it.
Yes. So it's not still manufactured anymore, but there was a game called Imperial Assault. It was a Star Wars.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the way it was set up is everybody played. The players played the hero, and then one person played all the enemies, like all the Imperials.
Okay.
And it was like mission based. I could see a G.I. Joe game working like that because it was all about the specialties of the individual characters and how they could synergize.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. And eventually they automated that in an app. So,
So
you could eventually not have to have somebody play the Imperial. The app would just tell you what to do.
Yeah, that's what it does for Dark Tower. It tells you what to do with villains and that. And you're all working together against the common goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have just a cooperative game for sure.
Right.
And those are really been in the gaming space a lot. That's really been real popular the last 5 or 6 years. Is more cooperative style games instead of head-to-head competitor type games.
Because you always have that one friend who gets pissed off when you really take them out in the card game, right?
Oh yeah, they flip the flip the board or whatever.
Yeah, like virtual tabletop. Have you played on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can flip the table. Like,
can you really?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's on Steam. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
They should make you pay for that. That should be a micro. It should be a microtransaction. I'm gonna pay $5 right now to flip this table.
Yeah,
I wanted. I've been.
I posted the link to that new one.
Yeah.
That new
game.
Okay. It is cooperative, and all the enemy actions are rules based. So there's not someone controlling it. It's you flip from their deck, and it's like, okay, all of these enemies move one space, all of these enemies attack, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to have an enemy controller or an app.
Yeah, there was a it's not Pathfinder. There's a Pathfinder card game that was like that. The flip of the cards was the Dungeon Master.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. Me and my buddies would play that when none of us wanted to put forth the mental effort it takes to do the Games Master. We would just break out those cards and flip them. It's a cool design.
I hate to say, A, we got to wrap this up soon.
Yeah.
B, I think we only spent about 1% of this whole thing on topic.
We'll have to come back. We'll just have to come back.
Yep.
But so I do want to kind of throw this out there. So I recently at some point I need to. There's a word for it. Like in my Fusion 360 software, like all my projects are on the left, and it's way too, like I got to archive some of that shit. But I was just like scrolling through, and there's so many things where like I've started it and didn't finish it, but or I'm in progress and have to wait on X, Y, or Z. Like sometimes there's just challenges that I need to see like this part work before I move on to the next whatever. But there's a handful of things where I had it real close to done and someone else put theirs out there. Like and so the example I kind of rediscovered this week, was that one of those for you or?
Well, I was working on this modern M4 before Gridiron dropped their slab side.
Gotcha. But yeah, so for me, like I saw the damn the swamp skier, the chameleon, and I was like, it'd been years since I thought about it, and I was like, it was done. I just needed to print it, and at the time, all I had were the Mars, and it was going to take I was going to have to print there were pieces I was going to have to break in half because
to fit on the plate,
on the damn bed.
Yeah.
So it was like
inconvenient.
But yeah, between like Jeff Woodward put one out and was selling it, and so we're like someone else in the group definitely was, and there were a couple different tweaks on the designs. But between other people kind of beating me to it, and me just not wanting to deal with breaking up pieces and then having to kind of glue them back together to get the test print, I was just like, I'm done. So, but I cracked it open. I did a test print. I think I scaled it down a few percents. And so now it's good to go. I'm years late. I put the files up on the Patreon, and it's like, do I bother trying to sell any of these, like printing them, right? And like, what would I charge for this kind of thing? And like, I'd have to paint it because that's, because that's the thing, right? That's kind of the expectation from my store at this point. And I just don't want to. I just don't want to do it. Like, I think I'm gonna make one for each of the Dreadnoks. just to, I want to have like a dreadnought shelf, and I really like. I like the dreadnoughts on the damn thing, so I think I'm gonna make a couple for myself, and then that's it. I'm done. But it's weird, like just kind of bringing it back to like what would people be willing to pay? What would they expect to pay? How much work am I willing to do for how much return on investment? And it's
So,
I can't even do two, like on the Jupiter. I don't think I could fit two of these on a single print run. And because it's got flat pieces that have to meet, like I don't like if I have two flat pieces that need to meet and have a clean seam, I'm printing them like this, not like this, not like this, like this.
Yeah.
That means the main body of this thing turns it into a 14-hour print.
So there's been some projects that I've kind of abandoned for the same sort of logistical concerns. Like I had made a bunch of they're two vehicle based things. Like this is before Gridiron was really doing all that they're doing with vehicles, and I've kind of left that space to them at this point. Not that I'm a direct competitor with Gridiron, but like I don't like they do so well when they're design wise, like they're so meticulous in their engineering that to snap onto the vamp and all that stuff. But before that, I had gotten that Avatar mech.
Yeah.
That you can you pop the legs off a Joe, or you can pop the waist off a Valaverse figure. They fit right in the cockpit. It's kind of a cool mech. And I've got a couple add-ons for my shop, but I had a ton of add-ons. I like had a missile launcher on the hand, and like a flamethrower that would fit on the gauntlet, and it just got to be to the point where I was like, I think if I'm going to sell this, they're going to want to just be able to open the box and attach it to the mech.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that this is for the typical customizers, hobbyists that I usually sell to. So eventually I just put up a couple of things that I had already gotten the design down on. And then there's some jet skis that are really like they're for Barbies, but it's kind of close to 1/12 scale that you could get from like AliExpress for like $3, right? I had a devilfish kit for it that like had machine guns and missiles, and you could basically make one of these jet skis like a devilfish like vehicle. And I like eventually abandoned that too, because it was like, if I do this, I'm going to have to paint them or print them in a very specific color, and I don't think this fits my business model, and I don't want to do it. So it sits in the dustbin of my never completed projects. So I feel that 100%.
Yeah. The sidecar I do for the Ram is
so good.
It's so much fucking work.
Yes.
And I can do the body, just the body, and I got it oriented a certain way, or you end up with too much like kind of dimpling from the supports, and I need to be able to sand it, period. And I need it, like because of the shape, it's very much like a cup. So it's got to be, I got to orient it just right, or the suction ends up pulling it apart and everything. And it's another one where I want to say it's like 13 hours to print one of those things. So I can get 3 of the body on a build plate at once. And then all the other parts, I can't fit 3 parts worth on a single build plate. So it ends up being like kind of mismatched in numbers. But there's nothing I make that takes more time for me to complete than that goddamn thing. It is so much time and work. And I think I charge 80. I think I might have actually raised the price recently. It might be $90 now.
But nobody wants to pay for the time.
Right. But they also can't perceive it.
No.
Right?
But that's the common problem, because working at an art school, to be a magnet teacher, you have to have done something in the field. That's the ideal, right? Like professionally or semi-professionally. So like you listen to those, I've worked with a lot of professional artists, and that's like the one thing, like, yeah, people love what I do, but like, they're like, why would I pay $400 for this, or, God forbid, $1,200 for this piece of canvas? It's like, because that piece of canvas was, hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hours to get to look like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not part of the calculus.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the guns, especially if it's I'm painting it flat black and maybe dry brushing a little bit with rub and buff or whatever. You do a little like black, a little bit of dry brush, clear coat it with a clear matte. That's easy. And I can sell that for $12. And for me and my store, it's it's free shipping. We still pay for the shipping. It's just included in the cost, right? Shipping for like the bottom cost for shipping is basically $5 now, because you're paying for the box, the packing material, and the cost of shipping, which my basic little box is 4x3x2, and big or little gun doesn't matter. The weight of that box is about 1.5 to 1.7 ounces, so it's $4 and creeping up on $5 for postage. So for a single gun, $12. It's designed, processed, painted, packed, and shipped. And I'm not making a lot of money on that, right? Like it's
by hand by a human being.
Right. So, take shipping out where you're down to $7 for this little gun that I've physically spent some time doing. The sidecar, like I should be charging like $300 per realistically, right?
Yeah.
Like, because otherwise I'm
and that's really, that's paying you what, $20 an hour, which is pretty modest.
No, well, yeah, at like $200-$300 it would be, right? But like at 80,
right.
90,
not now. That's
80,
not
90,
even close
like
to $20 an hour.
I'm making 5 cents an hour or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like it's because it's so much. It's so much.
Can I chime in on this?
Yeah, please.
So you kind of get into these things with how much time it takes, or how much would you want to pay yourself for the work that you do versus how much people want to spend for the item. Okay.
Yeah.
And in most cases, the person who's making these things and selling they're really cheating themselves, because they're never going to get anything close to what it really takes to actually make it. And that's even if you explain to someone the hours of not even necessarily the printing hours, but let's just say, hey, if I was getting minimum wage for this and it just bare minimum took me 2 to 3 hours to get this ready for you, people wouldn't even want to pay that, because what's minimum wage where you're at? What's minimum wage in Cali?
If you work at food service, it's $20 an hour.
$20 an hour.
If food service, I don't honestly know what actual minimum wage is.
Yeah, so like
someone
working at McDonald's is getting it somewhere between $50 to $20 an hour, and I made you something that bare minimum took me 3 hours, even for just a little gun to get prepped and sent off to you, and folks won't want to pay that.
And that's not even talking about the behind the scenes and the processing costs, or even the fails.
It's not unskilled labor.
Right.
Is the other thing. This is like, I'm not a high school kid pulling fries out of a fryer. Like I've spent thousands of hours teaching myself how to do the 3D design, doing the 3D printing. Like I can print the way I print now because of years of trial and error and experience and experimenting. Yeah, it's rough, but like there's a lot of stuff you kind of just got to guesstimate. For me, this is my perspective, right? Like with the sidecar, I have to guesstimate like what's someone willing to pay for this thing.
It's true.
And I'm not making much money. Like I can't make them fast enough. If I were able to crank out 12 a week, which would be pushing it, I'm not making that much money off of it. It's a lot of material, a lot of support material going in the trash. It's a lot of time. It's time I could be doing something else. it's a weird one. I like people react to them, and I guess that's why I still sell them, is because a lot of people like them, and I get a lot of comments. Maybe it helps bring people. I tell myself it helps bring traffic to the store.
I have to say though that I think that like if there's one thing from this conversation that I want people to take away from, it's like, without being too like, I don't know, schmaltzy. I mean, we really do it because we love it.
We love it, right?
Yeah.
It's not because like you know, this isn't my retirement. Like this isn't, and it was not, you know, it's not even, you know, it would have to be majorly overhauled were it to ever be my day job. So it's one of those things where it is a labor of love, and you know, I'm sure that there are some customers that wouldn't believe me when I say this, but like one of the reasons I do it is just because I want to make everybody's hobby a little better. You know, that's the gold standard for me. Like, did I make your hobby a little better? You know, and if I did that, then I think that's the payment. And I'm used to that payment that's not monetary based. I think because I've been a teacher for 16 years. That's not why you're a teacher. You know, you're not a teacher for the money. You're not a teacher for the time off, which is less and less every year, by the way. It's you do it because of the sort of the ephemeral compensation of like knowing you made an impact in somebody's life, or you helped them find a passion, or you know, that's sort of the payment.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I look at it.
To kind of build on that, just from you and from what Mark was saying, the one thing you get, I mean, you're not going to get your money from your time, but what you get is you have someone, it's on their shelf, and someone comes over their house. They're like, wow, what's that? Oh, that's from Mark to Design. Mm-hmm. And now you have someone else going to check out your stuff. And it's just like the convention that you did. Maybe you didn't sell a lot there, but you made a lot of connections.
Exactly. Yes.
So,
yeah.
You know,
yeah, for me, this whole experiment has it's opened a lot of doors. It's introduced me to, like, Artwann to Mike, man. I love these guys. I wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't be doing this right now if I hadn't decided to dabble in Tinkercad and make some G.I. Joe guns. Mm-hmm. So it's paid off in big ways, and I don't want anyone to think I'm over here complaining. Like, no shit. If I didn't enjoy this, I wouldn't be doing it. Like, there's things that are a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. When a print fails, I want to quit, you know.
Yes.
But like anything else, you keep going, you know. But like, no shit, when I see people posting their customs and they've got something I designed on there,
it's a thrill.
Oh my god,
so awesome, isn't it?
Yes, it's great.
That is the best damn feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I love it. I love it when they've got, like, somebody builds a custom and it's like one of Jason's heads. And it's like some weird wrist weapon that I made, and, like, you know, it's like all these different little boutiques that they're fishing from to get this custom that they've designed. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, Magneto does that a lot with his videos too.
Oh man, that's another J. I maybe outed
his color shift stuff is amazing.
He's the way his mind works. He's Low Fidelity Customs on Instagram. And he's been called, actually his Cobra Commander was on display at the Turbo Dork booth, but he is like all in on Turbo Dork, the color shift paints, and he does these wild mashup. He's got this whole crazy alternate G.I. Joe universe.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's really good. It's really good.
It's so creative. Like, the depth that the story went into that. It's like, I mean, I couldn't even explain it. And you know, it's so deep with every character. And he had almost like Cold Slither dancing this week, didn't he? A couple of members.
What was the name on Instagram again?
Low Fidelity Customs. Am I getting that right, Jay? Is that right?
Yeah,
low _ fidelity _ customs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see the dancing Cold Slither with
he has a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. He has a character that he released this week called Sharknader, which is a quality assurance operative, which is a Ralph Nader reference, which is like what are you? A Sharknado reference and a Ralph Nader reference in a color shifted, crazy metallic action figure. It's really
and he
great.
kind of epitomizes everything about the hobby. He has fun with it, and it just, I don't know. It's great to see. He walks around to get the right color. He goes out in his yard on Fridays in the sun to get it so it films right for the video. It's pretty funny.
Bad Sociologist Labs, he's been doing this really cool alternate Guardians of the Galaxy for like a year, and the only thing he gets from me is the logo, the Guardians logo.
That's awesome.
But like every time he posts one of those customs, he always tags me, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that's great. That makes it worth it.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Cool. All right, guys. I think we're at 2.5 hours plus. We're gonna wrap it up. Great getting to meet you for the first time virtually, Jason. Dillon, we've met twice before, I think, right?
Yeah.
Joe Fest twice. So but good to
absolutely.
see you again. Thank you.
Same.
I don't know that we answered any questions that anyone might have had. Like anyone who's like, I'm thinking about starting an Etsy store. I don't think they will learn a thing from this, but that's okay.
No, we had some gems earlier. We answered some stuff. Before we wrap up, Mark, go ahead and plug what's happening next, though.
Yes, good point. Let me get my calendar up, and we're starting to kind of catch back up to present day. So Sounds Street Prints. Oh snap! So next Sunday morning, we're gonna have Corey Cantaloupe on. So former Joe team sculpt manager, great guy. I've met him a handful of times. He's awesome. Like I very clearly remember the first time I was watching. It was like one of the live Joe streams, and they're like, "Let's talk to the guys down in photography, Corey." And then like they cut over to him, and I think collectively the entire Joe community went, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Right. Well, like my vision of Hasbro is corporate, right? Like if like if you look at any of the old pictures of Kurt Bazzigian back in the day, they were wearing their button ups and their ties, and then Corey's there.
Corey's got like black nails and
But he is crazy talented, and he is super nice. Like no, I keep swearing, no shit. Do you remember the Toxo, like the zombie figures from the 4-inch line? Like he did those in wax. Like he is crazy talented. So he's going to be our guest, and I'm really excited to have him on. In case
really taking it down a notch after having me and Jason here, but
this has been
at least we're not.
This is supposed to be an hour long, and we could have kept going.
We're about to hit 3 hours.
Yeah. And then the 16th, we'll have Derek Hicks on, and we're going to talk about his 6-foot USS flag, or not 6 foot, 12 foot. Sorry, his classified scale.
12-inch scale. Yeah.
And like I'm sure we'll get lots of people asking about like Jethro from NCIS, right? In case you don't get that joke, he built a boat in his basement, and the running joke was like, "How are you going to get it out of your basement?" And eventually, one day, it just wasn't there anymore. And then I'm gonna, in case I doubt he's watching, but our friend who's printing the 6-foot tall Zartan, Dominic, our favorite Canadian, he is. I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he wants to come on the 23rd. So that's a complete maybe. I keep meaning to get on Messenger and reach out to him. So hopefully we can grab him for the 23rd, and we'll see. So he joined us on the panel at last Joe Fest. He brought his 6-foot tall bat with him. So we can ask some questions like, what are you doing different? What did you learn that you're changing? But yeah, so that'll be, hopefully we can get him on, and that would be fantastic. So,
he could spend 45 minutes with a fascinating story about just driving the thing across the country.
through across the border.
Across the border.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And then into the southern heat and humidity.
Oh boy,
that was a problem.
We ran into some issues.
Yeah. So I jokingly asked him, if he accounted for the heat this time, and he said he has a new technique that he learned about that should protect it.
There you
So,
go.
Excellent.
There
So,
you
good to talk
yeah.
about.
So yeah, I have to like, I think as soon as I hit end stream, I'm gonna get on Messenger and do that before I forget again.
Is that
So-
before or after restarting the stream for about 30 seconds?
I don't want to talk about it. That's only happened like 3 times.
Oh, that's a trend, Mark. 3 times is a trend.
Damn. I'm trending.
That's it. You're
Yeah.
trending.
I'm trendy. Okay. Cool. So guys, thank you again. Definitely welcome back on anytime. If you've got something and you want to try and plug it or whatever, just let us know. And
Well,
come
if
up with
you
something.
get lots of questions about, wanting to know more about the way this kind of thing runs, like any more behind the scenes type stuff for Etsy, I'm 100% willing to come back.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. It was fun. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Oh, Metal Beef wants to know if it's Wendy's or
Wendy's or
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Panda Express for me. I'll go there every time. Sorry.
Metal Beef, he's one of the best weapons designers out there. God, his guns are good.
Awesome.
Vests too.
Is he has he got an
He is.
Instagram? Do you want to plug before we?
It's metal.beef.3D. I know that because I've gotten it wrong so many times when I posted on Instagram trying to shout him out. It's metal.beef.3D.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I just remembered this whole other tangent I was going to start, but it's too late. We'll do it next week. All right. Thanks again. Thanks again, everybody. And
Thank you so
we'll
much.
catch you next
Happy Sunday.
time.